Good evening, adults, children, and anything in between. Welcome back to Korean Contenders. It is the second night of a fresh season, Season 2, just kicking off. I am, of course, joined here by the ever-youthful Kevin AVRL Walker. How you doing tonight, my man?
That's just the genetics, really. I don't do myself any favors. I don't even try and go to bed at the right time or eat the proper things. So I'm trying to counteract those genetics to try and look a bit older for some reason.
You still get ID'd. You want to get past that.
So that's I actually don't, but I'm just trying to make sure that the people calling me boomer, at least let's make it accurate, you know. Let's make sure that we're aligned on the same page here. And let's get aligned a little bit on what's happening in Contenders this season, because we just had our first night of matches last night. We had O2 Blast, BM facing off, Talon and CC making their debuts in this season as well. And now we're going to get through a couple of really good games from teams that we haven't quite seen in both of our groups, which, you know, same as last season, 2 groups, A and B, 5 in each. The cliff notes here is really be in the top 4 of your group and you'll move on to the next phase of the tournament. The bottom team in each group get eliminated. The top 2 go straight to the playoffs, and then number 3 and number 4 go into a play-ins.
And I just want to touch on something that happens all the way down there in the playoffs. Obviously, in the middle, you can see the play-in tournament where third play third, fourth plays fourth, and then loser of third plays winner of fourth. Then actually, when you look at the playoffs themselves, the top team gets an immediate seed further in. The second place seed from each group has to play one of those play-in teams. So between all of this, what you actually get is every single finishing point, every single slot in the group matters enormously. Obviously, 5th place is an instant elimination, but even the difference between 2nd and 3rd is a huge difference in the number of matches you may actually have to play. The reason I bring this up is obviously last night we had some of our stronger teams from each group picking up some early wins, setting themselves on that track to a first place finish within their groups. And we see how impactful that is. When we look across the teams we're going to have tonight, they are playing for that middle of the pack, and each of those differences in positioning is enormous. Indeed, some of these teams may even be trying to fight their way up to keep their head above that 5th place finish. But let's go ahead and actually take a look at the groups and where they stand. Not a whole lot to see right now, obviously, because we've only had the 2 matches, but we do have O2 Blast with that first victory under their belts on Group A's side, and Talon Esports as well. Both of which were 3-0, so good map records to follow that up as well, just in case tiebreakers become a thing.
Just a bunch of 3 Overwatch happening recently, and not only that, but we even had what we assume is most likely the number 1 and number 2 seeds from Group B, or what will eventually be the number 1 and number 2 seeds from Group B, Talon versus CC, which also ended in a 3-0, which I'm sure for Talon, they'll be loving that one, but for CC, probably a little bit disappointing. BM, you would have expected they were going to lose to O2 anyway. They would have enjoyed taking at least one map, but O3 is actually not super out of expectations. It's the rest of these teams now being jumbled up that is going to be really interesting. So go take a look at today's matches now, where we're going to have 4 teams that we haven't seen so far this season. GS Busan, which is the new team Diamond, still the same players. WGS Phoenix, same team. Couple of new faces on there, but mostly the same WGS Phoenix that we already knew. T1 exactly the same as we remember, another top 4 team from the previous season, and Starlight, which is the majority of the same players as well from the previous season.
So by the end of tonight, there will be 2 teams that we have not yet seen, 1 in each group, but we will have seen most of it, and we'll have a bit of an idea of how things are likely to shake out. Obviously, some of those questions around the likes of the former team Diamonds, now obviously GS Busan and WGS, both teams who maybe have a bit of potential ahead of them, and this is going to be how much of that potential gets realized. And then on the T1 side of things, obviously O2 Blast, also in their group, had a really solid day 1 showing. T1 want to follow up with a similarly strong day 1 showing to show that they actually may be a contender for that first place finisher. But before we get to that, let's actually go ahead and take a look, remind ourselves real quick of our hero pool for the season. This, of course, is going to be lasting across the entirety of the group stage. These 4 heroes are going to be removed.
And notably as well, if you look at Ash in the middle there towards the right, that's a bit of a preview as to what she looks like in the Contender skin. That's the reward for, I believe she's the 10-hour skin. Arissa, I think, is the 5-hour skins. And the fun thing about Ash as a Contender skin is you'll also get the Bob in their same skins. That's like a 1.5 times value, not quite 2 times. It's not 2 heroes, but it's nearly there. If you're specifically paying attention, you'll notice at the bottom of your screens, there is a rewards button, same as there is in the Overwatch League. Exclamation mark drops actually takes you to a link now as well to explain it all. You need to link your Battle.net account to your YouTube account through the linked account settings in your YouTube settings somewhere. I don't know exactly where it is. You can figure it out. Otherwise, just click the rewards button. It'll take you through everything you need to do. And you'll begin to get those sweet skins. But yeah, hero pools, same as Overwatch League, same as what we've been seeing across all the different matches that's already been taking place over the past couple of weeks.
And the consistency across the whole season is kind of a nice thing as well, just with the way it lines up. Obviously, it's the pool ban lasts for 1 month, and the group stage will last for pretty much dead on 1 month, so it just lines up really nicely. We will obviously have a different one coming into playoffs, and it'll be interesting to talk about that closer to the time. But
well,
it also means we get an amount of consistency, right? Like a team that looks better in week 4 compared to week 1 is going to be better, not because the hero pools are shifted around, but because they've actually improved as a team, which is always a nice thing to have across your regular season. Let's go ahead though and move on forward. Take a look at what maps we're actually going to be playing across tonight, or actually we could look at the rosters. That's probably what we should do, so that we know who is going to be playing on the maps. How about it?
Yeah, there'll be Overwatch maps. It'll be alright.
There will be.
Okay.
There will be Overwatch maps, yeah. Let's go ahead and meet GC Busan TDI. Obviously, like you said, the former Team Diamond. And, well, that is written no better here. You can still see the Team Diamond on the shirts there. And like you said, exactly the same roster as last season as well. A roster that started showing that they had a little bit of stuff behind them, but just never quite reached the heights that they were maybe hoping. Let's see if this season is kind of the clean slate they need. They are in a very tough group for it, though.
And they're in the same group as Talon. So Team Diamond were in Group B previously. They were in Talon's group. T1's gone the other side now, and they went 4th place in this group, which was still enough to at least make it into what was in last season, the Interleague tournament, or the second phase, pretty much equivalent to our play-ins from this season. They beat Gen G, who are no longer with us in this season. So now Diamond, with a bit more experience under their belts, because they started to look like they were coming together as a team towards the end of last season, and they were starting to make some really good strides, but maybe just ran out of time. And I think to start with, Diamond didn't have high hopes for them, but they really started to impress me as we got towards the end. So GC Busan now, especially under the GC Busan banner, which has had quite a bit of success in the past and had quite a bit of a reputation, we'll see what they can do now with this stability in their roster, especially.
Exactly, and sort of going to be a case of how strongly do they start? Are they at the level that they finished last season on, or will they have to do a little bit of rebuilding? He is hoping it is the former, but let's go ahead and take a look at, speaking of former, their opponents tonight. This is going to be WGS Phoenix, so a little bit of a shift up here, not an enormous one, all things considered. Obviously picking up Albam there, formerly on Starlight Gaming. Aside from that, Hidden, Vulture, and Arpen all making a return to the team, and a familiar name in Arong as well on board here. So across the board, WGS Phoenix, I mean, they've just had such a mixed history, right? They won Season 2 last year, the biggest and best result they've ever had, and then have kind of failed to start reaching those same heights once again. They feel like they've slid back down into being a little bit more middling, but that doesn't feel like it's an absolute guarantee here. And also it feels like part of it, for last season at least, was the fact that there were so many excellent teams. There just wasn't that much space left for the rest.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think the maybe good news about WGS for this season is they have a little bit more of a focused roster. Last season they had something like 12 players, I believe, at least 11, if not 12 players. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It was 12 players the last season. It just seemed like, okay, well, what is the team they want to run? What is the focus on this team? We did see primarily like Hidden Vulture, Aldo was there, so I think Aldo isn't going to be here this season. And now you have a more focused WGS Phoenix where they know exactly which positions they're looking for, and they've only got the one substitute in their tank line, so they've only got 7 players, so it's a pretty big cut down from where they were previously, and they're sticking with Hidden Vulture, which is, I think, going to be the primary force of this team. And you spoke towards the history of WGS Phoenix as well. Well, I mean, pretty much everyone on that team ended up going to the Boston Uprising. So this WGS Phoenix, like the one we saw last season, is a massive rebuild and an attempt to maybe get back to the form of old. But that's going to be difficult with some of the power lines or power levels of other teams that we've seen in that top 4. WGS Phoenix will have some work to do here.
Yeah, and again, this is going to be a setting of precedent, seeing what shape they're actually in at the top of the season, whether they kind of come in still, relatively hot off last season so that they can build again on what they've already made, or see whether they're going to have to re-establish a baseline and then build up. And again, you hope that it is the former, not the latter. Let's go ahead and take a look at that map set now. Of course, all predetermined, same as what we had last night as well. We will kick things off on Nepal, Blizzard World, then Havana, and if we still have maps to go do Hanamura, then Lijiang Tower, and technically we could still have maps after that, but no, let's not do that.
Not worth talking about anyway.
Nope.
It's the same. It's always the same control map pool anyway.
Yep.
What this does is give us a pretty clear comparison between all the teams. I mean, that's kind of the good news out of this. The silver lining from playing the same maps between everybody is, first of all, everyone practices the same thing, so that's pretty even for the player side of things, and for everyone else, you get to have a really direct comparison, or like, you know, here's what everyone else did in these maps. Here's what we can expect out of these teams as well. And for a little bit of you know, recappers from last night as well, we saw primarily Ball, Tracer, Sombra type compositions. Some teams did very much opt for the Orisa, though. That was a lot more popular than I expected. Some of those teams had a reasonable amount of more success. I mean, you had the Orisa, Torb, McCree kind of stuff coming through from CC. You then had, I think BM was running a Hanzo variation that didn't look quite as strong until you get to Havana, when you maybe expecting the other team to also be playing Orisa. And then obviously Talon and O2 were primarily still playing a lot of Ball and getting a lot of success there. So the Ball teams, I'm going to say, are the ones that are coming out on top so far.
With maybe the one dazzling exception of the absolute beast mode Winston from Kellen, but that being beside the point, I think you make a pretty fair prediction. We're expecting a lot of the ball-oriented dive. GC Busan, though, as I say that, Inhyuk already hovering the Winston, and speaking of solid Winstons, it's definitely a hero that Inhyuk is very solid on. Whether we're going to see the same kind of outstanding performance like what we saw out of Kellen yesterday remains to be seen.
Well, the good news here is you have Quasit on his best hero. He has been a really decent Ana in the past. I had him really high on my list, especially when he was on his previous team. So that's one strength, is put Quasit on an Ana, and obviously Ana's best combination in terms of tank man is going to be the Winston. So it will be pretty similar to what Talon were doing with Kellen in yesterday's match, especially for Sanctum. This might change later on. WGS are going to start out on the Orisa bomb.
Yeah, okay. We'll see how it actually works out for them, though. Already getting pretty nicely positioned up the side here is GC Busan, but WGS, there we go. Opening catch onto Becky. That's kind of all they need to really get started as Vulture sets up for an off angle. They do lose Arpen, though, so they don't have that big front-facing shield. Catching Inhyuk, though, with that off angle as Vulture finally gets into position is going to allow them to just run rammed across the back line. There was a bit of a window there with Arpen down where maybe things could have turned sour for WGS, but just lined up pretty nicely in the end with Vulture being in position. So, all things considered, WGS will get the first cap.
Really good recovery there from WGS as well. Like you said, Arpen going down, but the rest of the DPS still really showing up. Vulture and hitting, getting a ton of frags. Window available for the next fight now with the Ant Matrix, and WGS should be in a pretty solid position, especially with this kind of lineup. A lot of players, a lot of heroes that can really take use of that window.
As they're just going to happily set it up, free fire across, forces GC Busan to at least move around a little bit, or just wait, lose a bit of time. They're happy to wait it out, but it is good percentage points for WGS.
And available here as well. And the Ant Matrix did get used. WGS pushed GC Busan away, who respected. So perhaps an early usage does give them the point. We'll give them the point a little bit earlier than that.
Big Nano.
Straight away
Oh. Yeah, absolutely massive. Absolutely no delay as well. Arong didn't even get a chance to get an Immortality Field out, actually. So really huge timing window there. And GC Busan, this is why they were willing to just wait out that Amplification Matrix. They knew that they had the right tools coming available between the Nano Boost and the Primal Rage.
Okay, so a pretty fast flip. Both teams now should be looking pretty even. We'll see if WGS can get back in time to make use of the next round of ultimates. It will be double rallies from both of these teams. The one thing that's kind of missing from GC Busan is obviously it's a slow charge with Silver Point today. Rally up, pulse.
Wow, no time wasted once again. The Bionade onto Arpen, bringing him dangerously low. The Immortality Field dying at a super inopportune time. They needed a couple more seconds recovery, but they have at least traded. Main tank Hyunwoo threads it into the backline, even kills Inhyuk in the pilot form with a couple of extra pistol shots, by the way. WGS just kind of smacks straight back out after what was a potentially rough start.
And they don't really get to catch up either, 33 to 43 now. So we're going to be looking for this grab in the next fight. He did start on the Diva in the first rollout, so that's partially what has caused the delay on this grab coming on through. And now you're looking over towards WGS, working towards their next Ant Matrix. I mean, obviously both rallies are gone. That rally armor will be dissipating soon as well. Dragon Strike on the way, and again, still a lot of members that can make use of this window.
Arpen with the Supercharger ready to deploy. GC Busan still just waiting. Grab, attack visor, maybe a Nano Boost. Becky just catches one on Vulture. Quick kill around the flank as the Amplification Matrix is delivered. That's a trade onto Lego. Little unfortunate. GC Busan always not quite getting ahead, but Alban does die despite the Immortality Field. Supercharger taken out pretty quick sticks by Inhyuk, and WGS really feeling the heat here. Becky gets a slick stick onto Hidden does not live up to his name, as with that, GC Busan, that's a really economic fight, actually, as they get the final pick off there onto Vulture. Now Hyunwoo as well, holding on to the grab and finishing charging the nano boost. Very nice.
Second time as well where they kind of outplay the window there. They just back off, they respect it, give the space away, and WGS can't capitalize, they can't get an opening frag off it. As soon as an Matrix is gone, but they try and play further with this this supercharger down from Arpit, which gets very quickly destroyed, and then obviously we see the ultimates, especially that pulse bomb really coming through big time.
Quick Dragon Strike across just to create a little bit of an opening, but GC Busan going to go ahead and push in. The grab gets tossed out to the side. That's a couple of tanks, kind of caught an awkward spot. Nice shield up though, protects the immortality field long enough. They at least go 1-for-1 for the time being, but Hyunwoo, despite the sleep, is getting topped up. They're throwing everything they can to keep him up. Vulture trading one out, finding his counterpart, but they lose Arong in equal measure, so no Av Matrix and half as much healing as what they would have. The rally, though, can be a big difference maker, as you see GC Busan backing up towards the point. Any shot taking one out on the back end of the fight. WGS are going to have to reset.
I think WGS thought they maybe could have had an opportunity to get a counter trade there. They rally out, failed to protect Vulture. They'll get a pick up to Becky, so here it is. Maybe this is the opportunity. There's no more armor, but there is Sam Matrix now. Can they finally get use out of it? Because two of the last previous ones were not that great.
They really need to get a lot out of this rally, but Lego goes down a bit quicker than I think they would have liked. Now the supercharger as well. Silver Queen's dead. They needed that grab desperately, and it's going to be a flip over to 96% here for WGS. GC Busan, they're going to struggle to keep this one up. I think Becky is going to have to touch. Go trying to lay one out with the Tac Visor. At least creates a bit of space, but no, Becky takes one too many storm arrows to the brain. That's going to be WGS just barely edging it out. That was a real touch-and-go moment. GC Busan nearly had enough ultimates, and I think if Becky hadn't died in that fight prior, they could have maybe stalled, but even then it would have been an even fight on ultimates anyway.
I mean, a big one for me was Lego going down mid-rally, so they couldn't quite keep the team up. If the rally armor kept on ticking through, and Inhyuk and Silver Point survive, you see the grab in that fight. Grab Pulse would be a really big combo. So unfortunately for GC Busan, they're not going to be able to hold on. WGS, to be fair, both teams pretty close in terms of who was capping and who had advantage there. Back and forth, WGS coming back and getting the recap, GC Busan then coming back and getting the recap again. And no team really held on for any massive length of time. I believe WGS, after winning the neutral, had about 40%. That seemed like the biggest gain, and everyone else was just collecting 10 to 20 at a time per fight.
Quick push to the point, but it looks like GC Busan are maybe going to get there just a little bit further, or faster rather. Also with the Winston, they got a little bit more forward pressure with the tanks, but Ultra can really wreak havoc around the side. We'll have to see what he can accomplish with the manual hacks.
Wow.
And Hyuk takes a pummeling in the air, but it's actually Arong who goes down. Becky on the flank, just right in behind, harassing the tanks now as well. Just helping create extra openings for those tanks as they push in to again enable Guryo, who himself is now laying the shots down. The kills start to get collected. GC Busan, very slick commit, and it's going to be them getting control of the point for the first time.
We'll be very curious to see how WGS want to retake now, because I think there are some easier areas on Sanctum for an Orisa-based composition to try and get back into, you know, advantageous position to make a retake. Here, trying very open. Looks like they're going top right. GC Busan as well would probably prefer Guryo to be on a soldier, so perhaps a little bit of a misread. A little bit dead-eye soon. In fact, most ultimates for GC Busan will be coming online fairly quickly.
Ooh, slick stun there onto Becky, sitting dark as Albam catches him with the whip shot. Big opening now, as Becky would have had that pulse bomb, and there's been no trade here, no headshot out of Guryo or anything of the like. Inhyuk taking a right pummeling. The rally not able to keep him alive. GC Busan, I think they're just going to have to accept that they're going to lose this one, try and back out and not lose anyone else as the point goes the way of WGS.
Unfortunately, Closet, I don't think he had the nano in time, otherwise that would have been good to save. Inhyuk can commit into it as well. Put the nano to Guryo now, still no Deadeye just yet, waiting for that opportunity, and this is now the chance for Guryo to maybe pick something up.
Oh, they got a lot of good damage onto Arpan. Hyunwoo's actually out of the mech, but the rally has made him a hard enough target to kill, and now without that nano boost on Guryo either, not quite having the primal, they've got a fair bit to slog through, just waiting out the supercharger for now.
EMP should be on the way here. WGS have used almost every single ultimate that they had previously, and now it's got 4 in the back. EMP catches 2, including Inhyuk. They can kill him.
He needed to live. That's super rough between that and the Tac Visor, just the guaranteed damage coming out. Shots onto Silver Coin with the rockets is going to finish him off, and just everything fell a little bit out of phase there for GC Busan. Unfortunately, the EMP just keeping Inhyuk disabled long enough for him to go down. You saw the nano boost previously onto Gurio. They weren't able to get mileage out of that. It just doesn't all quite fire at the right moment.
Now that the WGS, especially on this Orisa composition, they can just hug her up now. And back down the hatches as well. Gurio coming back towards the Sombra, so looking for more dive pressure. The McCree honestly doesn't really give you that. It's a little bit more defensive. They maybe expected the WGS were going to swap to a ball composition, maybe a Winston composition as well. Here, we're just going to double down on the dive. Another nano coming online for GC Busan, and here they will finally get it on Inhyuk for a good play. But they lose Becky, so 5v6.
This is the second time Becky's gone down, just shy of a pulse bomb. It's absolutely brutal, and now you see GC Busan kind of in all four corners, just trying to find somewhere to regroup. Inhyuk is hacked and surrounded. Not going to be able to primal the nano, not enough to rescue him. That's a huge resource sink as GC Busan are just hemorrhaging it right now. Manual hack on a silver coin. No self-destruct to reset the mech as Quasit even going down to the remech from Hyunwoo. Becky at least got one back with the pulse bomb, but we're on 99 and GC Busan do not have the manpower to contest this. Once again, everything just falling out of phase, and this one a bit of an unfortunate cascade from Becky getting picked. Bit of a disaster at the end there for GC Busan.
It's the kind of situation where you get all tempo robbed of you. Do you want to go in or not? It's 5v6 now. If you do try and commit, you're disadvantaged. If you don't commit, you're going to be giving away giving away percentages, and you're going to be even further behind, especially as we get towards the 99% mark. And further from that, WGS, they press the issue forward further. And, I mean, Nano is not even enough to save Inhyuk, which is just really upsetting. Great hack coming through to deny the Primal Rage. That Primal Rage would have been necessary. It would have been 100% needed, and that could have bought them enough time for GC Busan to maybe get Becky into play again, collect their 6v6, and go for another fight. But, wow, really nice plays coming from WGS, and really good control of the tempo and the pacing.
Yeah, for sure, and just seeing that little bit of playmaking coming out of the DPSs to keep that lead open where necessary, because there were several moments actually where GC Busan were looking super threatening or about to have the potential for a lot of threat, with ultimates coming online, with you know, nano boosts and primal raiders and pulse bombs all available, like big major tools. And I don't think there was a single fight where they actually got to deploy all of those in the way they, I think, ideally would have wanted. You know, they had to put nano boosts onto Gurio instead of onto Inhyuk. We saw Inhyuk receiving a nano and then still dying because he was hacked, couldn't actually use his primal in a later fight, and just all those sorts of things. We never saw them get all their ducks in a row and then actually be able to pull the trigger on that. So the credit actually goes, therefore, to WGS for keeping GC Busan consistently disrupted like that.
It's really surprising that these Orisa compositions are getting some value. I just said earlier, yesterday, the Orisa compositions, for the most part, weren't succeeding that much, but I think primarily they were going up against ball-based compositions, and the Wrecking Ball compositions were able to break through fairly consistently. I think maybe the Winston is having a little bit more of a tougher time. You have a lot of players that can make use of the amplification matrix. You have a lot of hit scans that get to hide behind the shield as well. And this is after hit scans have been globally nerfed. So it's really interesting that teams are opting for these types of compositions. And I guess they can be difficult to dive, but it's not even like they're playing McCree all 12 together. They're playing like Sombras and Soldiers. And I mean, yeah, I guess there are McCree still in there. So it's variations. It's not even what I really expected. There's even the Hanzo in there that they still play, which, you know, got some good damage in there. And despite being, if you think about it, Orisa, much slower composition, they were far quicker. WGS were far quicker to pull the trigger and to get the, you know, take the tempo under control compared to the actual dive composition, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and so again, the credit's got to go there, right? I feel like the teams are starting to kind of flex their muscles a little bit. We did see that very first one go extremely close, though, so I feel like this isn't just going to be a case of WGS get their mojo, get momentum on their side, and GC Busan never really catch up. I actually think there's a lot of potential here for GC Busan to pick up maps in return, and I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see quite a close match, just based on what we saw across Control and the relative evenness of these two teams. Speaking of which, that does bring us ahead to the next map, which is going to be Blizzard World. Do like me a Blizzard World. I was talking about that yesterday. I think I just like amusement parks, which is a shame because we've only got one in New Zealand. Yeah. What we actually do is we literally all fly to the Gold Coast in Australia just because there's like three or four theme parks there. Yeah, exactly. Not right now, because you'd be stuck there, which keeps happening to us. Like, despite the fact that the bubble has been opened and closed like 3 or 4 times, every time it opens, New Zealanders are like, well, I'm just going to go to Melbourne for a weekend. I bet COVID won't start up again while I'm there, and they always get stuck in Melbourne for weeks.
And here, I'm expecting defensive teams, let's see, specifically for WGS, opportunity to run a more risky composition. They can actually just run that the entire time if they want to. Haven't seen a wrecking ball come through from either team just yet, especially if you're looking towards GC Busan, who, I mean, if we're looking for meta dive compositions, that would probably be it. Winston's okay here, but WGS, or rather GC Busan, need to think about what kind of variations and adaptations they can do now, especially considering WGS will be defending first, which is a clear sign that they are going to play bunker.
Solid stuff then. And Blizzard World was an interesting map yesterday. We had two very different games take place on it. One that didn't even see past point A, the other one that went all the way to C both times and came to quite a tight finish in the overtime. So we'll have to see, because these two teams have both felt quite evenly matched. We'll have to see where that evenness actually lays out, whether it's going to be a case of both teams getting the whole way, getting the full cap and going into a time bank, or just some other kind of close situation.
I'll clarify that statement a little bit slightly here as well, because they felt close on Sanctum, and then Shrine was a bit of a wash. Shrine was
that's fair. That's fair.
All WGS ends up still being a 2-0 as well, so maybe they can find a little bit of that Sanctum magic. That being said, though, I mean, we're still going to be playing towards, okay, it's Anna Winston again. It's going to be the Sombra in there. Trace Sombra, pretty standard for this meta. And WGS starting out on the high ground. We'll see if GC Busan want to actually challenge for the high ground, or they can just start rotating towards the point and force WGS down.
Just taking his time here. Jock waiting for the jump up onto the high ground. Just trying to dislodge. Becky really taking a pummeling, but able to slip away this time, and that's GC Busan on a very slick rotation to follow up, and WGS having to pull back to the point now.
That's the GC Busan, step number one. They have forced WGS all the way back on towards the low ground. They still don't quite have a nano available. Watch Posits, ult charge here. He's got plenty of tanks to build it up. We're looking towards the 3-minute mark. He's still 25% off, which is not ideal. That's
very nice.
They can go on that.
Yeah, super nice follow-up there, bringing him lows, and Hyok dove forward, and then Gurio with the follow-up to drop Vulture. Nano. So now, yeah, straight man advantage plus the Nano is looking good for GC Busan for one thing. WGS, though, will push back in. Counter dive from Inhyok, quick follow-up there, right into the back line. Absolutely no dramas, turning tail now to take out Arpen and Hyunwoo. Easy stuff as GC Busan will complete the cap with a pretty solid time to spare.
I mean, it's one attempt here from GC Busan. It's a pretty patient attempt. They weren't really trying to force the issue too much. They just took it step by step, waited for the right ultimate to come online, and Courier especially finding that solo kill into Vulture massive, because GC Busan, with a team that were getting solo kill, losing Becky a number of times on the previous map on Shrine, here they get the 6v5, and then on top of that, they land a sleep dart onto Hidden as well, so it felt like a 6v4.
Yeah, everything went pretty bad pretty fast there for WGS, but just slick execution by GC. Now we'll have to see how things progress across B, as WGS have already taken up that high ground, but honestly, all it takes is a good pulse bomb from Becky, or even an EMP if they want to go for a big dive commit.
You'll see Lego use this rally in the next few seconds as well, because both teams will be ready for these EMPs. I expect both teams to be using them this fight. Aaron slept. You could not find a better moment. Gurio, if he finds an opportunity now while Aaron's sleeping, that would be perfect.
He was setting himself up on the flank. He just wasn't quite in position to go for it, which is a little bit of a missed opportunity on the one hand, but they do still have a bit of cart movement, and now as they go in for it, it's going to be the Transcendence across to rescue, but a great Bionade means Album is half a hair's breadth from dead. Gets all the way topped off, though, is now the counter EMP. The rally is running, though, from Lego. Inhyok brought over the nano boost, delivered intravenous. And there we go, the damage starts to mount a little bit too much as GC Busan just kind of steering steady through the entirety of that EMP. As much as WGS didn't die during Gurio's EMP, they were still so pressured, they were always on the back foot.
Yeah, so much work done by Quasar there. That was really just a two-man Bionade, especially onto Albam, who was on critical HP, couldn't look forward, couldn't move anywhere, and WGS couldn't press the issue to try and get this EMP underway. They land the EMP, but don't know that's enough. Now they're just being destroyed out of spawn. GC Busan are camping this, and they will get the cap.
Yeah, I really respect the use of the ultimates here as well, just to guarantee the fight win. They didn't want to waste any time. They didn't want to let WGS get into any kind of position. And they know that they've got a huge amount of time as well. They've got enough time to rebuild those ultimates, the self-destruct, the primal rage they use. Even getting an extra stick with the pulse bomb is just going to be a bit of extra free push.
Probably didn't need to use the pulse bomb, but I think Becky can build this pretty quickly. You have to be careful though, because you know the more ultimates where you say, I can get this pretty quickly, that's like every ultimate though at this stage in time, except for the EMP, which will definitely need. They still can't really go on without the Nano, so they need EMP and the Nano at the same time, ideally. Nice teammate, though.
Not going to be able to get back in it. Not going to be able to find anyone with the self-destruct either. A bit of an unfortunate falling there as GC Busan now in position with... Oh! Cancelled out! Quick fingers by a wrong as well with the Transcendence, but that does mean GC Busan could wait the Transcendence out, then go ahead, commit a Nano Boost instead onto Inhyok, getting hacks out for the time being, but Arpan back in action with the Supercharger down. The damage getting laid in onto Inhyok, getting absolutely hammered, but lives impressively as Becky deals with the Supercharge. They finally get the DPS onto Arpan, and the dominoes fall once again. GC Busan looking absolutely unshakable.
I don't know what I'm more impressed by, the fact that WGS nearly completely stopped up GC Busan's push despite them having great ultimates, EMP, and the Nano Boost, or the fact that GC Busan somehow persevered through it all. Rally armor is still there, full spawn, doesn't really connect. Well, hit into this tag visor now.
Becky actually took a little bit of damage with his own pulse bomb in the end. Manual hack onto him as well as Inhyok with the primal running again, taking a shellacking, but barely living. Finally dying at the end there as Hidden pops a few more shots in, but the damage is done on the ground fight. Actually, there we go. Counter trade onto Lego. Silvercoin actually takes out Albam in the pilot form before remeching. Hidden just with the healing field down, trying to keep the members topped off. They've got the closer respawn as Silvercoin gets demexed. 0.15 of a meter is the difference here, but with that EMP, WGS are just trying to anchor this defense, finish off the last few. They don't get them, but they are forcing GC Busan out.
Yeah, really unfortunate that you had Inhyok dying. He was in the midair and well, he just kind of got the last lick of damage in before he could really touch the health pack. Does force out an extra Sombra EMP from Vulture, so that's one extra bit of utility that GC Busan gets walk away with in terms of an ultimate advantage. Skurio is sitting on an EMP now, setting up for one. Just taking stock of where the players are specifically. He needs to know where A-Rong is. Spotted A-Rong now and has the opportunity where now that he knows where their backline is playing, GC Busan can set up a pretty decent dive for it.
Arpan over onto the ball now. Didn't quite roll far enough back to find out Gurio. We'll have to see when he chooses to commit. Like you said, primary target is Erong.
Nano's there as well.
Will be delivered, no doubt, onto Inhyok. 2 minutes to go, so plenty of time to finish this one off, but plenty of time can also disappear quick smart as Gurio, he gets the EMP out, but Erong is there with the answer, and again, Inhyok with the Nano just takes so much damage, he's not able to be aggressive in the way they want. Didn't finish charging up the Primal, now goes down as well, as it starts to come apart despite a huge Bionade out from Closet. They just don't have the forward pressure to follow up on it. They really would have liked Inhyok on the front line with a Primal to collect those kills. Instead, it is WGS absolutely ironclad.
I mean, the problem there is A-Rong didn't actually get caught in the EMP, so he's managed to dodge that one out, or maybe Gurio misjudged the LOS of it and just ended up hitting a pillar or hitting a bit of geometry and A-Rong gets saves. He definitely knew it, at least for one part of that attack where he knew where A-Rong was, and they were both together with A-Rong and Albam, and I think Hidden was among that stack as well. The Nano Boost, you have to consider Inhyok with the Nano Boost is like 1,000 effective HP, and twice now he's had all of that burned down almost instantly. He can't get a Primal because he can't stay in the fight. If he gets to stay in the fight and deal damage, then he gets a Primal. He backs out straight away because he's nearly dead, so he just can't get the ultimate. So this EMP Nano attack has unfortunately not worked out.
Ooh, there we go. Hyunwoo catches up the Pulse Bomb. Just going ahead and committing the ultimates, not going to waste any time. They know that they're approaching final fight territory, so EMP and Tac Visor to collect this one. They know they've got the Transcendence ready for the next fight. GC Busan, though, they know they've got just enough time for one last go around. They're charging up the Nano, they'll have the Primal, so it's all just going to come down to the last little push.
I don't expect this is going to work really well for GC Busan. This time they don't even have the EMP. Previously they at least had that going for them. It's going to have to be Nano onto Inhyok. Forget about the Genji. It's not going to have a blade. Good sleep on A-Rong. Potential. Inhyok's been hacked, though.
Oh, they just can't quite make it happen when they need to. Again, that little bit of disconnect the WGS keep forcing. Last couple of seconds. They're just going to have to go for it. The Nano's there onto Inhyok. Has the Primal. Quick sticks on that. Even with the manual hack, just doesn't come into the right time. First catch coming through. Inhyok now with a corner trap, but taking ages to get a finish off. Meanwhile, Becky goes down. Now Inhyok taking a beating again. Arong is dead, though. Alban with the rally running, but Lego has one of his own. Hyunwoo does get back in the mech, but a nice EMP across 3 whole members. Quasid working overtime to try and keep everyone topped up. Inhyok simply refuses to die. This man, the necromancy being poured into him as Hyunwoo now demechs. All chips down, boys. It's full respawns and just a demech Diva as Gurio coming up. Are you joking?
They capped. They capped. They actually managed to get it.
There's 6 people there.
Oh, well, they're not in the right place, unfortunately.
You're
And
right
a lot of this
about
comes
that.
down. A lot of this comes down to Quasit hitting a huge sleep dart onto Vulture. What a clutch play, and that saves Inhok, who was on 1 HP. I mean, you could see that Vulture was just looking for one more melee hit. Gets one melee hit in there, would have been a kill 100%. And sure, WGS had a lot of players alive, but the player they really needed was Arpen on the point, and Arpen couldn't quite touch. In fact, all these members just rolling out of spawn. They were trying to get into position for one final defense. You could imagine where, you know, you're in OT, massive defender spawn advantage. WGS probably could have maintained that. In fact, I expected at the 30-second mark when GC Busan were going for the final push, probably weren't going to be able to cap. They didn't have enough going for them. Props to Gurio for charging up an EMP. He actually got that one EMP in that one fight they had, which went to OT. I didn't expect that to happen at all. Quasit lands a pretty nasty bone. It only hit one person inside the Transcendence, which was Hidden, which put a lot of pressure onto Hidden. That's something that was missing in the previous fight, by the way. We talked about the, okay, EMP plus Nano onto Inhyok kind of combo for that good dive. Unfortunately, didn't catch Aaron, had that massive Transcendence, and couldn't get a Bayonet on anybody either. But this time, they were able to just get enough done. And Quasit has been hitting some pretty clutch leaps and some really decent Bayonets when required.
Just impressive play across the board. It really feels like both teams are pulling out solid plays, solid little micro moments of playmaking. It's WGS out the gate. Just taking a little bit of harass from the side on the way up from Gurio and Becky, who are just trying to farm a little bit of ultimate charge. No surprises there.
We're starting out onto the Sombra once more, which is now a accurate read in terms of what they want to do versus WGS, contesting another Sombra, EMP Brilliant versus a bunker type composition. The only problem here is GC Busan are not going to get given the time to build up another Nano. WGS already getting in deep.
Yeah, absolutely wasting no time here. It just means Becky and Gurio gonna have to play, make, and frag out. Becky eats a stun, Inhyok eats a death. Arong, that's a good find with the Bionate as well, but they're not able to follow up the damage, unfortunately. Becky going down means it's all on Gurio, who is currently stuck in a duel to the death against Hyunwoo. Has to pop back to the point now. Silver Coin, D-Max, dead. I think this is going to be it for WGS. They'll be able to get themselves a cap in actually a slightly better time than what GC Busan did.
Well, WGS just kind of start walking out. They go towards the left side. They dive directly. I say dive. They push directly into GC Busan. The diving team of GC Busan actually failed to make a counterplay happen. They were wanting to play patiently if possible, trying to build another Nano, which will be coming up in a few short seconds here. Ideally, that comes up before any of the other ultimate suits. They can kind of make the first move here. WGS have been so good with their timing and their tempo, though, that similar to what we saw in Nepal, they just rob it from GC Busan.
Now we'll have to see what GC Busan accomplish on the defense, because they capped out, sure, but they capped out in overtime. WGS have so much time on the clock. GC Busan need to start draining some of it off, and that means they need to start winning a few scraps across B. They've got just the right tools to do it, but they need to commit before WGS get the rest of those ultimates online.
The Nano's available now. Looking to see what Becky's positioning is. EMP
nice.
Hits first, so that's going to be Inhyok ruined.
Yep, and that's with the Nano Boost on him as well. Once again, just gets drilled through. Like you said, almost 1,000 effective hit points. Albab does die to a Pulse Bomb. No real response there, but Becky going down means WGS aren't too phased by it. They still have a man advantage, and the cart's still pushing anyway.
It's actually above 1,000 effective hit points because you have to include the armor calculation in there as well. So it's going to be a Transcendence, Force Scout. It's just Gurio applying pressure. Baits the Transcendence from Aaron. That's one thing going quite well for GC Busan here, and they need a few things going well.
Supercharger committed, but rallying on the other side. Gurio goes in for an EMP, but trades his own life for the connection. They do drop Arpen and the Supercharger, though. And obviously, Aaron, having already committed that Transcendence, means it's essentially just a flat 5v5. We'll have to see what they can get done, as WGS are going to have to at least back away from the cart for a bit. This is where GC Busan can start slowing them down in earnest as they start committing further into self-destruct. You've got Inhyok moving forward, hanging on to a Primal Rage as well, if necessary.
This time he can't die. Surely, unless he gets hacked, he won't go down. He'll have Nano plus the Primal Rage. Gurio coming back on a Hanzo, trying to break some shield, but this fight's going far too quickly.
There we go. Yeah, really nice timing as well. Just maximum slowdown for WGS, as you saw GC Busan back out a little bit, build up a couple of other ultimates, then go in, commit to the fight, quick cleanup, quick commit, and with that, WGS have finally been stopped up in earnest, and not even going quite a ways forward. They've actually got the Pulse Bomb to follow it up. Happy to collect the late kill onto Arpen because it's just more time lost for WGS.
Does mean they'll have less to work with for this re-attack as well. Pulse Bomb, I think, is one of the best ultimates for defending against the retake from attacking team. So they're going to miss out on that one. Vulture will have this EMP up in short time as well, and Indyhawk, I guess, just taking no chances because he's thinking 1,000 effective HP isn't good enough. Let's try 2,000 to Primal plus a Nano. It is expensive, not going to lie. If you have to use both, doesn't feel good to have to use both. And GC Busan, because of that, are going to be completely out of ult now. WGS, they probably know it. They feel like they know it. Going to take control of the high ground, and they're going to rain down terror with this EMP.
And honestly, GC Busan, if they're going to have a losing fight here, they want to take it away from the cart because it'll buy them time to maybe have a second fight back on the cart before the cap comes through. But to start with, the CMP kind of faded out, not really effectively followed up on. Inhyok does get brought low, but he lives. However, Becky not so lucky. So man advantage to WGS, but a pretty big ultimate taken off the board. GC Busan, as long as they don't lose anyone else here, can just regroup, get Becky back in the mix. Gurio going to come across to the side with a Dragon Strike, or maybe not so lucky as he just gets drilled down, heading on the front side. Ramming out attack by WGS, just going from straight to their deep. Yeah, GC Busan, they're just going all in on what is almost already a lost fight in its entirety. If they're going to commit the rally and they're not going to commit the nano boost, I'm not sure what the plan is. I'm not sure that there even is a plan, but either way, WGS complete the cap.
It's got to be a mistake because players are already sung to die. Lego presses the ultimate button. Quasar knows better than that. He's not going to use this nano. And a bunch of them will now be punished for, unfortunately, having these stagger deaths. It'll just be WGS collecting more and more and more. The only good news to come out of this is because Lego uses the rally, Allbam wants to use the rally as well to at least match it. In fact, WGS didn't need the rally, so that mistake gets equalized with both Brigidas now not having the rally. Bit of outlier of armor still was used towards the end there. WGS will lose for now. We're going back towards the Nano. Going back towards the Nano into Indyok, who once again does have a Primal available.
Let's see what they can accomplish now as finally the Dragon Strike comes out, but a Space Main, nice, fine, headshot into head, and that's where they're wrong. Committing a Transcendence to Supercharger as well. Death on Inhyok's rough, but they know how long it had the Supercharger, and it is a man advantage as GC Busan will get the respawner in quicker. They had to commit the Nano onto Silvercoin, far from ideal. Also D-Max just before the hack runs out, so he can't reset with the self-destruct, but the kill's still coming in as the Pulse Bomb onto R-Pen, hit and dying a second time to a headshot from Hyunwoo. Inhyok, from Yurio rather, Inhyok finding kills as well, and it is going to be the cart getting stopped up. 2 minutes. It's just enough for WGS, but it's also very doable for GC Busan here.
Now, the problem there was, the reason why you see this nano onto Silvercoin is because Quasar didn't have line of sight of Inhyok, who was trapped in the side room. And the reason he didn't primal is, I don't even think he got hacked, he just got stunned up. One Brigida stun there. That short timing was enough for WGS to burn through 100% of his HP. Next fight going in now, double self-destruct. Silvercoin's been caught, but he gets a better self-destruct.
Oh, that's brilliant. Finds Silvercoin because he had thrown his self-destruct first, who in turn finds Hyunwoo, who had yet to remag. Super economy fight there. Literally just the same ultimate. One gets one kill, one gets two kills. Do the math. GC Busan burned 40 more seconds off the clock.
And both the Divas die there as well in terms of the baby Divas getting blown up by the other bomb.
Hilarious.
So, bit of a rare one, don't see that every single day. 1:10 left now. WGS have plenty of ultimates. You have to remember, EMP offensively here for WGS. Not as good defensively because you have to wait for GC Busan to dive into you, and GC Busan don't have to do that on the defense. They can just wait it out. So WGS, if they want to offensively EMP, they can't really take advantage of it because they have no dive pressure themselves. They can't walk up the same way.
Attack Visor first, just trying to throw some damage out. Oh, hello, Silvercoin gets a little bit caught out there, ends up going fully down. That's a bit of a disaster. Now rally out from Albam. GC Busan, they're just letting this one happen. They barely committed ultimates. I think they got a little bit too cocky there, honestly, but they do at least have the nano onto Inhyok, does have a primal as well, and they've started to trade a few back. They had the better respawn as well, so every kill is going to have a really big impact. Silvercoin's back in the mix. Inhyok with this primal running as we round the bend of 20 seconds remaining. As GC Busan regroup, can they get further kills? Now they've got their own rally up. Aaron has a Transcendence. They've already lost that. That's a really big find on the Supercharge, and now the Transcendence, but it does not save Arpen. Silver Queen staying alive as the healing gets pumped into him. It's looking like GC Busan can do this.
GC Busan pushed into the OT. Another nano will be coming up online soon. They need to make sure Indyok.
That's one.
He's down. Nicky's got two though.
Yeah,
look. No more supports for WGS.
Look at him go. You got to be honest. Becky fighting himself the third one. Finally, the man isn't shut down. Pops one onto Hyunwoo out of the mech as well. Busy throwing out the self-destruct. That's going to
Nano
seal
Becky.
the deal by the looks of
There
it.
it is.
Last couple of members, though, Arpen still hanging around here. Like you said, the Nano onto Becky. He's got to get the finish off onto Arpen. Finds that one now. Back out the phase. They're going to collect the last couple. It really came down to the wire. WGS even nearly snuck it across, despite being decimated by that point, but they do still hold on tight. So GC Busan, a well-deserved win there.
I mean, look, 4 final blows for Becky in that last fight.
Yeah.
And Hyok's already dead. Silvercoin's been DMAC. Closet just gets another nano boost. It's like, who else? Yamada's on nano Becky. He's on fire. He's getting all these frags. He's on half HP. Put him on 300. Give him the full heals. Have the capability to survive and play for this overtime respawn advantage for GC Busan. And because they snuck the cap over in their own attacking phase, which you'd say probably shouldn't have happened, that's got to give them the map win, where unfortunately for WGS, they let it slip on their own defense on C, let the cap come through, and then beyond that, ran out of time for their own attack. And you see now the EMPs offensively are just not finding the same value. They dropped the EMP there, couldn't quite get the damage and couldn't quite find the kills. You'll notice that they didn't start getting good frags until the EMP was long gone, and then they started using other ultimates, and then after you had GC Busan diving in is when WGS started finding value. But the EMP itself, all that really does is slow down GC Busan from wanting to dive. So a lot less effective on their offense, and that's probably one of the missing pieces there from the WGS side that just didn't give them enough fuel in the tank.
Really impressive stuff overall, though, I've got to say, and that closeness has finally been realized. Not going to be getting to 3 Overwatch tonight. We are officially tied up 1-1 for the first time this season. That means we have at least 2 maps ahead of us, could possibly go the full 5, but that will all come up after this break. I hope you like Overwatch because we're about to see some. We are currently tied up 1-1 between GC Busan and WGS Phoenix, and as I said before the break, that means we have at least 2 maps left, if not more. No further comment.
Tell you what, if you don't like Overwatch, I'm not too sure.
You are in the wrong stream,
You might
bud.
have stumbled in. I don't know.
You
maybe,
took a wrong
maybe
turn.
you got a video recommended to you. Maybe you just thought, I'll click on that one for funsies. Not too sure what that is. You got 2 weird guys, or I'll just speak for you, not for me. On screen right now, it's usually I speak for yourself, but
Am
I'll
I
speak for
2 weird guys?
you are both the weird guys.
I have enough weirdness for the both of us.
Yeah. Oh, it's
I
good.
was driving along today. I saw a guy walking along the street wearing sunglasses and a raincoat, and I thought to myself, you are prepared for anything.
That's like that emote. That's like, you said raincoat. See, I was thinking trench coat, and I'm like, that is quite
That's a very
mysterious.
different thing. Wearing a trench
It
coat
is.
and sunglasses is a very different vibe to wearing a raincoat and
Dude,
sunglasses.
I'll tell you one thing, though. If you wear a trench coat and sunglasses, you have to have that kind of hat on, that really
Yeah,
suspicious hat.
If you
Otherwise,
don't
it
have a
doesn't work.
fedora on, there's a very fine line
I don't know
between
what hat it is.
spy. It's a fedora is the one you're thinking of. It's a very fine line between a spy and a flasher. If you don't have the hat on, you're the lasser. If you got the hat on, you're about to do a covert information drop.
I think the hat is really important there.
Yeah, it's critical.
As is now.
You should hold on. I was going to say I've got the segue here. It's also important to wear a hat in Havana to protect your head from the sun. Thank you.
Anyway, as is Havana to see who is going to get the 2-1 lead in match point in the series. We are going to see Hanamura for the first time this week. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if we'll see Hanamura next matchup. I mean, it could be a competitive matchup. I don't know yet, but it is also T1. Which
you know what?
it might not be. So
I do know. We're not going to see it. We're going to see a 3-0, but T1 are going to lose it.
Okay.
That's not an actual prediction.
Good. So I know. Well, I clearly you weren't wearing the hat. You're the flasher here.
I'm the flasher. You're the spy, the detective.
Yeah. I'm detecting here that this is going to be the only chance for us to see Hanamura at all this entire week gameplay. So we're not going to see. What was the last map again? Lijiang. Not going to happen.
Lijiang Tower. No, not at all.
So. By the way, yesterday we did have a spawn camp happening on this map. It was a Farah-based spawn camp. Not going to happen with GC Busan. You can see that WGS are prepared for it. They're going to start hitting on the Farah just in case. And, you never know. There could be a Farah in the defense spawn camp. If that happens, you want to be able to contest it. It seems like the only way to really contest it is that you just have to run your own Farah. Seeing a Widowmaker on the starting end as well for Gurio. And, I mean, it hurts because you'd normally see the Ashe here, but Ashe is banned. And now they have discovered this Widowmaker. WGS can play around the angles. They are going towards their own Arista bunker, which is pretty standard. And hidden on the Hanzo, by the way. I think that's going to give them an advantage here in terms of breaking shield.
Honestly, yeah, one would expect so. As obviously no spawn cam cart just moving all pretty standard. Video just hanging tight, fishing for the headshots.
He's just shooting shields. I mean, WGS aren't going to reveal their heads. He's looking. Ideally, you headshot a wrong, maybe hidden. There's no mercy here, so there's no res, so that headshot's going to count. Busan playing, right side into the green room from the attacker's POV. Obviously, they'll be playing both sides. Actually, you can have Gurio on an off angle if you force WGS to turn towards their right.
And you saw the amount of work those Storm Arrows do to Ingot's shield. They haven't quite been able to get that extra bit of push just yet, only now moving the cart around the corner as the window deployed from Quasit. Hyunwoo taking a pummeling. And there we go, finally the headshots coming through onto the pilot form Diva as she goes flying up out of the canopy. We'll have to see now if WGS can do much.
I'm pretty sure that Arong didn't have the transcendence. Now they just got 2 kills. It's both DPS are down. WGS can push forward. I was going to say, if Arong had the transcendence and used it versus the amplification matrix, they can just push directly into it. I mean, you're not using it for anything else here. The rest of these kills just a massive cleanup. Hiddens popping off on all these shots, and GC Busan have been fully cleaned up.
I don't know that the pulse bomb was super necessary, but at the same time, Vulture's already at 20% for the next one, so GC Busan, they'll charge up some ultimates, may actually be able to come in and contest real quickly, though.
Yeah, I can definitely confirm that Arong didn't have transcendence when the first amplification matrix dropped, and now Quasit will be going over towards his own Zenyatta. Pulse bomb to collecting hit. It's a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, not the most ideal, but the rest of GC Busan are in the mix. But there we go, wrong with the Transcendence, running the self-destruct laid out to create space in the fight. Within Hawk already dead as well. Silver Coin about to get D-Max, gonna go ahead, throw out the self-destruct just in case you get a spicy one, but no such luck. GC Busan, the sort of last gasp on the defense here, not quite coming to fruition, even with the late kill onto Arong. Becky would have to go absolutely bonkers, but no, Albam's quick in with the stun and the whip shot, and that's gonna tidy things up here for WGS as they secure the cap.
Importantly, WGS will save 3 ultimates there as well. Supercharge is the most important one of those 3. That's the one you don't want to have to be forced to use, and the one that you most likely would have been forced to use if things go poorly. Extra bit of rally armor for that next fight as well, and WGS will cleanly get on through, and that comes off the back of a lot of momentum generated from Vulture and Hidden, getting those picks on the counterparts of Gurio. Becky Gurio now, who is going to match the Hanzo. Finally, obviously, because Widowmaker not great on beat, but more importantly, you got to be able to challenge the shield break potential.
Very nice early positioning as well from Arpen, just to ensure as much free push as possible. GC Busan having to work their way forward on this defense before they can actually start committing, and even then WGS, huge ultimate advantage, but that's a slick pick onto Arong with the Storm Arrows. Suddenly WGS might just be up a tree without a ladder.
Dragon been committed here as well. Now this is going to be ultimates being played in into a losing fight. Arpen's just going to drop in the supercharger. I don't know if this is going to be good enough.
They got Enhyok, they got Silver Coins, so no tanks for GC Busan, but Arpen's dead as well. It looks like GC Busan, just with the DPSs, are going to be able to finish this off. The Storm Arrows, the extra damage out as Hyunwoo D-Mech as well. They can actually even stagger out some of this. That's a really important fight win for GC Busan.
And even worse for WGS for losing, because they burned every single ultimate they had, and Hyunwoo, late stagger. Speaking of ultimates, GC Busan now on the opposite side. I mean, it's the 3 ultimates we talked about at the end of A. Dragon, Supercharger, Pulse Bomb, all online for GC Busan, plus Transcendence, and WGS working with nothing. And they have to wait for a pick from Hidden. They just got to play a dry fight in here, bait out some ultimates, hopefully get some players out cleanly. A lot of players will not be able to get out cleanly, so it's going to be a bloodbath.
This is where GC Busan as well, if they can get some efficient fights, can actually really start to slow things down and maybe even turn this into an entire defense here. As there we go, there's the efficiency. They do lose Becky though, who also committed in the pulse bomb, so currently it's even Stevens. We'll have to see if WGS can get more done or even force more ultimates out of GC.
Huge from WGS. You only lose 1 play for 2 ultimates and you get a trade. That's a massive value gain. And they are starting to come online for a couple of your own. Self-destruct there as well. WGS can maintain pressure. They already have right-side control. GC Busan have just kind of given up on that angle. Curio Shore is still putting in arrows, but for the most part, GC Busan's tanks have backed out.
There we go. Hyunwoo getting up in his business. Going to reset with the self-destruct. That's already going to be an eat onto Vulture and then gets killed off. That's insult to injury. WGS, just as they were maybe starting to make some inroads, just losing a little bit out there, having committed a couple of ultimates.
Double defensive ultimates online for GC Busan. In fact, they still have plenty of Look how fast an Dragon Strike is. He's got another Dragon Strike on Gurio. After having used one in the previous fight, it's going to rake across. It's going to be... What?
Yeah, that's a really tight window as well, so Hyunwoo catching that's nice stuff, but honestly, the double rally here means GC Busan still have an advantage purely because they have a supercharger, and Gurio's not going to be too far off charging a Dragon Strike, one can't help but feel.
That's incredible. WGS may have just rescued their fight opportunity just from that 1-8. Supercharger down now. Arong can transcend this at any time.
Vulture's dead. Hayden's going to have to come across with this Dragon Strike, see what he can accomplish, even just... I hope the supercharger's going to be completely fine. Inhyok takes a bit of damage, but there we go. Gurio down, but Hayden, that's a trade in equal measure. So it's still just a man advantage as Vulture not yet back in the fight, probably just getting in now, but Arpen's taking a lot of damage in the interim. Silverkoi back in the mech now, as it's just sort of transcendence difference here. As in, they both have it. We'll have to see who gets the better out of it. D-Mac onto Hyunwoo. Both Zenyatta's really playing close to the chest. No one wants to be the first to use it now. 20 seconds left for WGS.
But that's a win for GC Busan, though, because, I mean, look at the time. We're down to under 20 seconds now. The only good time to use a Transcendence is as a tempo tool. I mean, you've got no massive ultimates to counter unless your entire team is somehow sitting inside the Dragon Strike, or you really want to push into the Supercharger. Speaking of which, Inhyok got maximum value. WGS now waiting for Vulture. Transcendence been popped. I think that's in response to the Pulse Bomb.
I think it is, and Vulture, they know that they had to get him back in the mix. He's died early in a couple little scraps here. Arpen, Supercharger down, loses it very quickly, and that's Quasit a nice Transcendence to allow GC Busan to just dogpile on top of WGS. Now dropping Al, bam, Eden gonna go down, and it's looking like this is where the line gets drawn for GC Busan. Arong dropped, no more gas in the tank with WGS, so what was a really good push through A, they lost that momentum with about 3 minutes, 2.5, 3 minutes left, and never got it back on this side. And not any one of those fights was a big explosive blowout. It was quiet little scraps chipping away at each other for minutes on end.
Yeah, you know, without generalizing and making it sound simple, it's where WGS, they had all the momentum, they had all the power, they had everything in their hands until they just didn't. That one fight where they dropped 3 ultimates while they were losing, to me, everything for WGS on this attacking phase ended there. They lost all momentum. They lost everything. They started to recover when you had GC Busan dropping a couple of ultimates and they had a 1-for-1 trade. You had, what, Dragon Strike gone, Pulse Bomb gone, and you got to kill to Becky. Massive value. But WGS still couldn't convert that into a fight when they couldn't convert that into huge advantages for themselves. So, yeah, based on momentum, it just all got taken away from them as soon as they lost that fight where they threw in ultimates. I think if they just lose the fight, don't throw in 3 ultimates, they'd come out on top very cleanly. They go into the next fight, they're looking pretty good, but they were so far behind in ultimate charge. Getting back into this B position, in a mirror composition, Orisa on a retake, absolutely dreadful. You know it's not going to go well.
So now, stakes pretty clearly set. Honestly, I've got to say, it feels like GC Busan have really put in the groundwork. If they're able to pick this one up here, they've really earned it for themselves. It's just going to be a question of how much WGS can slow them down. I think WGS needs to really drain the clock on A if they want to have a solid chance, a confident chance coming into B on the defense.
Also say this as well, you know, Guerrero starting out on the Hanzo is a market improvement for GC Busan. Yeah, the Widowmaker got like maybe 1 kill on their defense, but you'll notice that especially they go towards the Hanzo, and yeah, because Widowmaker's not great in B, but also because Hanzo is just better in this mirror, GC Busan found so much more value, so starting out on this Hanzo now is going to be quite important.
Feels like the right call to be sure. Becky already laying in the damage, getting the run around on the backliners, not yet answered either, but Arong really pulling ahead of the Transcendence charge. That could be a big difference maker.
And free pushing, it's not quite been challenged just yet, and even Hyunwoo with the closest member, he's been pushed out. The damage trades are so in favor of GC Busan.
Yeah, trying to get the counter dive onto Gurio, but he slips away, just barely gets the health in, and Arpen finds himself a sitting duck, and look at that, WGS just getting picked apart now. GC Busan, they're going to be able to get a relatively unchallenged cap. That defense I was talking about WGS needing just does not materialize.
That's like a one and done here, and the best kind of one and done, because you got to push the entire way. I don't think the payload stopped even for a moment then. There was no one challenging at all, and WGS got chunked out. They just straight up lost a neutral damage exchange, and now we're looking over towards, you know, a snowball where ultimates are going to be deployed, and a huge ultimate advantage. The only thing WGS have going for them is going to be Transcendence, where GC Busan do not. We'll see if that ends up working out for them, because we head into a pause. You have a Transcendence that I expect WGS to use in a tempo fashion. I mean, there's not going to be quite a Dragon Strike yet, but if nothing else, if you want to take control of this game again on the defense, you tempo Transcend, force a fight before GC Busan get the relevant ultimates in.
Yeah. I mean, they can't let it get too deep into B either. They themselves only got the cart a little bit past the halfway mark. In all fairness, it's just far enough in that you can stop the cart up ahead of that reliably if you get a really iron, watertight defense. But like you sort of said, they actually need to give themselves the opportunity for that first, which means, again, disrupting GC Busan with their ultimate rotations, as WGS have done successfully across previous maps, I might say. But it still needs to actually happen, and then they need to get the subsequent defenses. And even then, the cart doesn't need to go to all that far through B, really. Like, one solid playmaking fight from GC Busan is the difference at this point, and they're going to have heaps of time to do it as well.
Yeah, it's just the fact that there just wasn't enough damage traded back. Like I said, the only difference there is the Transcendence difference, and part of that reason will be because if you're losing, you're taking more damage, you're healing more. That makes a big difference as far as ultimate charge and the Zenyatta's go. And and he's dead. He's dead. That's it. That's all they had.
That's about as brutal as it gets. I mean, props to Becky for knowing his marks. Finds Hidden as well. Dude's on a tear right now. Just keeping the pressure on the tanks as well. Wasting their time. Runs down Alfam. This guy can't be stopped. Now the damage drilling into Arpan. And Yacht gets the kill credit for that. But the WGS Phoenix defense, it just goes up in smoke.
Wrap it up. Hanamura next. It's done
Yep.
for. I mean, yeah, okay, you transcendence.
talk.
You better have Vulture and hitting these marks, because GC Busan have way more to work with. The supercharge is going to be nasty as well. Dragon Strike now from Gurio.
Last ditch as well, as we get Arpan on. Vulture has a pulse bomb. Nope, gets set by Silver Coin, and then he dies. Transcendence to try and come into the rescue, does not save Hyunwoo. Hidden gets nothing with the Dragon Strike. Traders there onto Hyuk, but Hyunwoo's still going to go down in the pilot form. And there we go, Cart goes across the line.
Well,
good talk, boys.
Speed run on Havana. Literally a one and done across the board. Again, I don't think the payload stopped a single time.
Not properly. Not even properly.
Well, the only time it stopped is, you know, after capping A, and it's forced to stop because it's waiting for the gates to come down or whatever.
Well, I think Arpen might have got 3 frames of contest there as he swung past on the ball. That's about it.
It's like the only thing WGS had was a transit, which actually wasn't even there. It was like 99, 97, something really close. And Becky getting that frag, and then, you know, it gets even worse from there. You're just rubbing salt into the wound when, okay, Vulture comes in for a pulse bomb, gets eaten away, and then he just dies. So, if anything else that could go wrong, it's just everything basically did just go wrong there. It started poorly, and it ended even worse.
And it feels like it's right to now recontextualize that map in GC Busan, getting just 1 fight win on the defense, and then snowballing that out until the clock was completely drained dry, which itself is, you know, it's not too unusual, but, you know, just given the WGS never regained possession of the cart, never really got back in control, and it wasn't like it was these big fights happening. It was just this constant little scrappy. This person gets picked, this ultimate gets committed, here's this inefficient trade, here's this unrealized opportunity, and then at the end of the day, you go onto their attacking half. I think even if the cart had got like halfway through C, we would have still seen GC Busan win that based on the form they were playing in on their attacking half.
Well, I'll give you some good news. You normally won't ever see the payload stop halfway in C. Usually, if you get the payload to C, you're going to get it towards at least the bridge. I think the first defendable position on C is the bridge itself. But yeah, I mean, it's just, but you're not going to get these types of compositions are slow, the momentum. If I would have made the argument that had WGS locked down and forced a reset on GC Busan at least one time, and you had the same situation where, like, okay, they finally have to get off the payload, they have to respawn and retake, similar issues would arise. You're doing an Orisa retake, and unless you have a big ultimate advantage, it's going to be rough. So there is a chance there that if there was at least one reset involved, I could see the defense being much better than that. But if you just allow a single snowball to roll on through, where, by the way, the first ultimate fight we had was the one on B, which ended up in a cap to finish the entire map. So that's it.
And with that, like you said, hello Hanamura. GC Busan on match point as well. I still think there's a lot of potential here for WGS Phoenix. It feels like they've maybe just kind of lost their mojo a little bit. Meanwhile, GC Busan are really hitting their stride. Even in the playmaking, I think we're starting to see that. We're seeing Becky really coming alive compared to how often he was shut down across the first sort of map and a half, if you will. Now we're actually seeing the opposite, where we're seeing Vulture often getting shut down and not really have an opportunity to play the game of Overwatch.
If Hanamura can be an improvement here or not. And this is the kind of situation now where, I mean, that last map really, I think, pushed things over for me far into the corner of GC Busan. It was a competitive series, probably up until that point. Had a 1-1, but even then you could contextualize it. You could say, like, oh, maybe if Blizzard was a little bit lucky, but there was no luck involved at all for what we just saw in Havana. That was just domination. And now going back over towards more of this bunker composition, which, if I remember correctly, GC Busan weren't even that willing to play on the other maps. Havana was the first map they were like, you know, maybe we should run Orisa. And after that, I mean, damn, that was their best map.
So now, Hanamura, always a fun time. Looking like WGS want to go for the teleport play. Vulture over onto the Genji as well. GC Busan sitting pretty on a bunker. I like that both Shimada brothers will be making an appearance on Hanamura. Feels right.
And WGS, after seeing the bunker defense, they'll be wanting to attack into it. I think they just don't mind the mirror here. Honestly, for me, I would still prefer Vulture on towards a Tracer or maybe a Sombra. Get some backline pressure. There it is, swapping over. So WGS now playing what I would say is the quote-unquote correct composition. They do lose a bit of time. They lose about 30 seconds to make the correct swaps. And they haven't really given away too much in terms of ultimate charge. What they are going to get is a freebie onto Gurio.
Yeah, I mean, even the difference you were seeing prior to that with Inhyok just taking the pain, and now the drill down onto Silver Coin, Lego going down, and it gets dismantled pretty quickly. I gotta say, just that one opening, that one shot across onto Quasit rather, just unravels the whole defense.
So that's it. That's a pretty decent one and done. Off the back of a single pick from Aerong, you get the one of the, I would say, the most important DPS down, the one that has the most pressure versus tanks. Gurio's gone. Hidden's now nearly triple the ult charge rate just off the back of staying alive and dealing damage. The only good news for GC Busan is that WGS, because they won that so quickly, haven't had the chance to charge up any offensive ultimates. In fact, Quasit has the defensive transcendence advantage to really play into the defender's respawn.
Just a solid 1v1 there, huh?
Can't act on that though, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the only downside. They're too far away, but I mean, it's cute. I'll give them that.
Now I'm expecting Becky to find this pulse bomb. It's really easy to stick a bunker cop as well because they're probably going to be mostly stacked, especially on Hanamura.
I've seen Saving Private Ryan. Nope, okay. Anyway, Quasit just eats a headshot. That's brutal. No transcendence on the defense. Becky does not find the pulse bomb. Hyunwoo's hungry. Ben does go down to the trade. Vulture, his own pulse bomb not quite getting there, but Becky now eating a headshot. I mean, WGS, despite losing the main tank, are honestly just kind of fragging out, but now losing Aerong with Quasit respawned, I don't actually think WGS really have what they need to get on the point. They honestly need the Orisa, and without it, unless they absolutely frag off, there's nothing they can do.
I'll be honest, I just expected the fight to start, but you know, sure, I guess, yeah, okay, I've seen it too. Who hasn't? Who hasn't except for all the Zoomers? I guess they haven't seen it.
The Zoomers have not seen it, no.
They don't know who Ryan is. Well, you know, maybe they'll be educated on that one day. As WGS now, the good news is they've saved a bunch of ultimates. That was a bit of a hilarious exchange of pulse bombs. Becky had his eaten and Vulture just slaps us into nothing. It just puts it on the wall in front of him. Happens.
Yeah, just Bill stickers, right? Gurio finds Albam actually with the Dragon Strike. This is WGS just kind of getting taken apart before they even get started. Hit his own Dragon Strike, got Enhyok down to about half. They actually used that to no real effect. So look at that, another minute gone.
I can tell you right now, this entire attack is going to rest on attempting to get some high ground control, and GC Busan never giving it up. Because Orisa with like Hanzo, I mean, that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. You just want to make sure you can have some free damage on them. Becky tries to get some clever damage in, but you're either going to commit fully onto Hidden and go for the 1v1 and get the kill, or you're going to fail. And even if you do get the kill, you might get traded by Vulture anyway.
That being said,
exactly what happened.
It's far enough forward that he's back long before WGS are ready to fight anyway. It's still not ideal, don't get me wrong, but it's not the most costly that it could be, but we will be a little bit behind on that pulse bomb. Here we go. Supercharger now committed by Inhyok, just preempting the offense.
But WGS don't have to push.
Yep.
They don't have to push, so they're going to wait it out. And
hang inside.
There's no reason for them to push. In fact, I would now expect WGS to set up their own supercharge play. They know this is gone, and the only thing GC Busan can do into this is they can self-destruct / transcendence aggressively into it, but the problem with these Orisa comps is it's hard to play into the supercharger. Here we go, just...
Okay. Self-destruct up onto the high ground. Hyunwoo goes down though. Becky marks his man once again. Now just sort of in a bit of a brawl with Vulture. Lays out the pulse bomb, trying to anticipate the recall, but it does not pay off. GC Busan, now Becky gets the better end of the 1v1. That's just 2 kills collected by him, and then Silvercoin just shows off. He's like, hey guys, hold my Gatorade.
I don't know why Quasit trans. I didn't see any good reason for that to happen at all. So that's
sadly going to be
an ultimate. That's sadly going to be an ultimate burn for nothing. Silvercoin will rescue the day, and WGS don't end up making a supercharger play at all. And now they look like they're swapping their offense. You can start to see this is the struggle of attacking Orisa into another defensive Orisa, where they just don't have clear enough win conditions. So WGS with the last 2 remaining minutes, and make no mistake, this is going to take until the overtime They are going to play for a Nano Blade, a one and done on the Nano Blade, and if they cap, it will be an OT cap. There's just still too much to play against. GC Busan are going to get more ultimates in that time as well.
You know, when they capped A, I was sitting there thinking to myself, God, I can't wait for nothing to happen for the next 4.5 minutes. That's looking like where we're going to be at this rate with the, like you said, the overtime push being the setup. Gorio just takes one out with Albam dying to the Dragon Strike. Buys GC Busan a bit more time to finish charging ultimate. Still need the Transcendence. Still want a Pulse Bomb on Becky.
How is Vulture going to get this though? I have no issues with Aaron getting this because he's on 70%. Yeah, okay, just take some damage, sweet. What is Vulture supposed to do to get this damage? And by the way, GC Busan know this. You see these shurikens flying, and you see that Aaron's gone over towards the Ana now. You know 100% what the game plan is. So if you're just blocking out damage, Silvercoin's marking his target in terms of Vulture eating up those shurikens. That's kind of all you need to do.
Yeah, Vulture needs to sell his soul. That's the only way he's going to do this, I think. Heading goes down to a Pulse Bomb. Again, it's just a little bit more wastage. Ideal target actually would be Vulture, funny enough. They've committed the Nano. They've got all Nano, no Blade. Albam's dead as well.
Here we go.
Man disadvantage, 30 seconds. The Blade does come out, but he's got no target. Quasar did die. Doesn't even get the supports in front of him. It's just a nothing burger. As Arpan now, Sulo to really commit a supercharger, even as Vulture gets one on the back and onto Becky. It's 20 seconds left. The big wombo combo committed to no avail. What next?
I actually expected the supercharger to come out first. I mean, let's be clear about it. It's 10 seconds left. WGS will not cap. GC Busan, they won't be able to hold here. 0%. That's what's the final result is going to be. And they delete the supercharger, by the way, so that supercharger should make a single difference. Now that's just going to have to be touch and just hope for the best. If Hidden doesn't pop off, it's done. Yep. In fact, it's done now. It is done.
He touches, then dies. Storm Arrow onto Aaron. Nothing. Nothing but nothing. All it takes now is 1/3 on B for GC Busan to finish this one off, collect up their first win of the season. Would be a pretty happy result as well when you consider they did lose that first one. If you lose the one and then just immediately clean sweep in return, it's a pretty great result. And I mean, as it goes on, WGS are looking increasingly lost.
I actually think we draw. I'm not going to lie. I think we draw this map.
Well, I appreciate that you're not lying.
The reason I'm a stickler for honesty, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
The reason we're going to draw this is because I see similar issues for GC Busan on B. I don't see how Orysas are going to get enough value as a composition to get any sort of ground on B, unless you and this is where you'll notice the disparity between WGS's A offense and B offense. And I said this at the time, A was so quick that they didn't end up charging ultimates off of it, and because they don't have ultimates, they have no ability to snowball in B. Zero. They couldn't do it. So GC Busan, they would need massive amounts of some sort of advantage in terms of they get a miracle pick on their way through in towards B, or they have a huge ultimate advantage. In fact, the real X factor here that GC Busan are not going to be prepared for at all is the fact that Vulture's starting on the Pharah. And there's even a May in play as well, so WGS, they're looking to burn down time. In fact, I don't know that this is going to be a good enough defensive composition to hold A, but I do know it's going to burn down a lot of time for GC Busan, because they're going to have to swap compositions as soon as they see this. Maybe Becky has to go Widow.
Okay,
they're already going to go towards Ball.
There's the shift up. Actually hanging tight on the DPSs for the time being. I'm not sure this is the ideal call, but I mean, they've at least gone in with the... like I said, with the ball on Inhyok, Gorio now going to have to take these men out of the skies.
Oh, that's a wall.
Solid.
Wall, by the way, it is a solid wall. It's physically quite solid, actually. It doesn't block out too much. You are versing a dive at the end of the day. You're not versing a brawl. However, I don't see how GC Busan challenge Vulture at all. They're actually just looking to ignore Vulture. In which case, okay, who do you dive on top of? You can only dive on top of A-Wrong, and that's still not really ideal.
And so far, it's a whole lot of nothing on this attack. No real breakpoints yet as Vulture just continues charging up. There we go. Finally gets a kill as well. As on top of charging up a Rocket Barrage. Will be rezzed. No surprises there. But Becky slept. Will go down to Hidden. Inhyok as well. Super low. So GC Busan not really able to accomplish a whole lot to begin with.
And honestly, they might not accomplish much to end with either. The Nano's available now. It will go on Vulture. He doesn't need a barrage. In fact, I would say barraging would potentially be a mistake. That's when he'll be at his most vulnerable state. So you can just, in fun fact, if you nano damage boost, that's a 200 damage rocket, so you can just play off that alone. We'll see what Vulture wants to do with this now.
All right. Just waiting for it. Has the nano. Throws down the damage. The barrage is a 1-for-1. That's not great. And he's died in an unreasonable spot. Compared to Quaz, who's back up in action. Becky immediately drops a wrong on the back line. Still no chance of getting to the body of Vulture. Just has to try come back on the Tracer. Half-end dead. Albam running for his life. Already flying for his life. Hidden has no life. As in he's dead, not as in he's got no friends, though honestly I don't know about his relationship situation. Stick onto the mech of Hyunwoo off the back of that. It's just going to be a slight stagger as the cap comes through for GC Busan.
Now that I think about that, that stick is actually pretty nice because you're either forcing Hyunwoo to dive off the side of the map or he's going to have to go back to spawn and change. But you did see what I was talking about there. Vulture, I don't think he should have gone for the barrage.
For sure.
Especially when Silvercoin was in his face. Like, you see the diva there and he goes for the barrage anyway. It's really strange. And then he dies in an unrisible state. WGS now can just stall this one out with Blizzard, Supercharger, self-destruct in there as well. Hyunwoo obviously didn't want to delete that ult charge. GC Busan might have 4 ultimates, but even with these 4 ultimates, I genuinely do not believe. I don't know if it's going to be enough.
Straight in, going to throw down the mines to start with. The Dragon Strike to come across. Quasar does go down though. That's an important pickup. That would have been a Transcendence otherwise. They will draw the Supercharger out. So 2 ultimates committed for GC Busan, 1 committed for WGS. Good economy all up on the defense. 4 minutes still on the clock.
Well, it'll be a draw now. So I've confirmed the draw.
Good talk.
I've looked into the future and I've confirmed the draw. So we are going to go to a Lee Jung Tower. And we might even go to a map 6 here. So congratulations, we may have our first map 6 of the season on day 2.
You took the spice, you awoke your prescience, and you know what's going to happen next.
I think it's pretty clear. I'm about 80% sure it will be draw now.
I think I'm about 80% sure. I'm about 80% sure that the Dune movie is going to be excellent.
What's the 20% you're holding out on? Not a fan of Dennis?
No, I'm a massive fan. It's actually Denis. No,
well, he can spell it Denis then, right?
Well, he does. That's how he spells it. He's just still French about it.
Semantics, okay.
Well, I don't know that he.
So the 20% the 20% that's missing for me is WGS could just make a mistake.
Oh, Becky's down.
It.
Okay, that's a something. That's another something as in Yacht gets dropped, so GC Busan not getting anything out of that one, but again, just drawing a few more ultimates out of WGS. This time it's the Blizzard that gets committed, rather. And all right, sure, let's just have some deaths on the end of it. And the 20% is, he's definitely releasing it in 2 parts. My only fear is...
really? Alright.
Well, my fear is that if it's not quite enough in the first half, like if it leaves it a bit too awkward, and then the second one never ends up happening. That's the 20%. Because then it'll turn a great thing into a terrible thing.
Well, no, because you'll still have enjoyed the first thing, wouldn't you?
So not as much. It's like how the first seasons of Game of Thrones are now worse because the last one was so bad.
Well, hang on, the Zoomers haven't seen it, so don't spoil it.
Oh, of course.
So what I'm trying to get to is we're just judging the one movie, the first movie. I'm not looking at it as a you know, not a trilogy, but a
80% chance. What can I say? I'm looking forward to it. But at any rate, Dragon Strike going to come across out of Vulture's. Heading goes down. Becky fighting one on the Doomfist. Must be a Doomfist as well. Just going to go ahead, rocket forward. Look at that. The kill escalates. Quasar goes off. Look at this. This is an unmitigated disaster. Bonkers in Yonkers. Throws the nano onto Arpen. No supercharger to speak of. Sit and duck in the corner of the point. Takes a pummeling from all sides. Vulture at least gets a headshot onto Gurio, but not enough to stabilize. Hidden gets taken out despite the rally running. Hyunwoo as well in the pain. They only need to get a third. Huge Bioneko.
Lego has to die.
Iran is about to rescue this. Lego staying alive for the time being while Silvercoin sleeps off his hangover. Will get DMAX, but Hyunwoo still goes down as well. There we go. Becky dead a second time. WGS by the skin of the pearly whites are going to be able to stabilize on that defense.
Oh my goodness, GC Busan nearly made me cancel my plans to watch Dune. That was incredible. I can't believe it. WGS nearly threw that one. I can't believe how long Iran waited to drop in that nano. I was like, is he going to use this or we're just going to save that for next map, I guess.
I grew grey hairs watching,
Vulture
honestly.
And Hidden
I got stressed.
I don't know how they just got picked out of there, and I was like, well, you gotta just drop a nano into somebody. We gotta start fighting for this one. And the members just started dropping one by one. And we'll have now a Blizzard. There's about 40 seconds left. No way to beat this Blizzard. Yeah, okay. Draw's now confirmed. I'm now sitting at 99% for a draw.
99%? Well, in that case, I'm going to have to assume that the Dune movie is about to get even better. 99%.
Oh, now I'm setting it 100%.
Yep. Look at that. The reviews are already coming in ahead of time.
setting it
Hold on.
101%.
Yeah, there we go. Now Silvercoin has to reset with the self-destruct. Becky does find one on a wrong. Goody goes on the long walk back. They lose Lego, though. Walk without rhythm. It won't attract the worm as Albam gets dropped down. With these ultimates out as well, Inshock supercharged, nowhere to be seen, unfortunately. Arpen's still barely alive. It's got like, what, 1 hit point. Hidden does go down. Hold on, a hot tech Gunwoo. May yet get D-Max even with the nano boost on him. Nook stays alive. The healing getting pumped into him. Wasn't down as well. So it's just Lego on the solo heal without the kills coming through. Inshock and Becky drop down. And yep, there we go. Dune is going to be an excellent movie. No doubt in anyone's mind anymore as GC Busan forced back off the point. Well, I hope you like seeing Lijiang Tower, bud, because that's what's on the menu.
Congratulations, Dennis, Denny V. I don't know how to say his last
Denny
name.
V.
Congratulations on your Oscar. Well done. There it is. I've seen the future. I've tasted the spice.
The spice is nice.
Make it clear. Make it clear. 4 minutes ago, I knew this was going to be a draw.
Yeah.
I called it straight away. I called it before I even saw what happened on B. I just knew it was going to be a draw. So I can see the future. I do write the script.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I've witnessed the script of Dune, and
it's good.
And what's happened is Zack Snyder's actually convinced Denis to just make it a 1 4-hour film.
Wow. And look,
in 4:3 aspect ratio as well.
Unironically, I would still watch that. I'd be, and again, unironically, I'd do it. Like, I sat through the whole extended cut of the Lynch one. It was bad, you know, whatever. I'd watch 4 hours on a slightly better movie than that. So,
what's the name of the actor in Dune 1984? The main guy. What's his name again?
Oh, this is gonna annoy me. The actor's name.
No, that was Lady Jessica. It is.
Oh, he's an absolute lad as well.
McLaughlin.
That's it. Yeah. Excellently cast, by the way.
He's going to come back as Paul Atreides again, but not a young, just the same age.
Just the same guy.
Age currently, he's 62, so he's going to come back as
a very
Paul
old guy.
Right now, as a 62-year-old playing a. How old is Paul?
He's like 15, 16. He's quite young.
So the opposite. So yeah, so we have a 62-year-old that's going to play 15. He's going to reprise his character, but as his current age.
Excellent stuff. Movie. Excellent stuff, yeah. And I mean, if it gets us rid of Timothée Chalamet, then sure. I mean, he's a great actor, but I mean, come on, he's got too much going for him. At any rate, I'm gonna go ahead and take a bit of a break to nurse my jealousy. We'll be back in a few moments with Lijiang Tower, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Overwatch Contenders Korea, where we all have great relationships with our fathers. We are potentially going all the way to 6 maps if WGS Phoenix can turn things back around on Lijiang Tower. And I gotta say, the if is really hung on the fact that they did also win Nepal earlier tonight, the other control map, obviously because Hanamura eventually went to a draw.
Also, I was like, I guess you do have a good relationship with your father, but then I was like, maybe you don't though, because there's a little bit of resentment there, but not a lot. It's just a tiny amount.
Oh no, there's an incredible amount of resentment. He is a homeowner, so he's the other class. He's upper crust.
And he does prefer your sibling, which always brews some good rivalry there, and some reasonable familial resentment, which I enjoy. Whereas I, a single child, just got to have everything. Except
you got to have no relationship with both parents, which is like you've really doubled your money on that one.
Well, the difference there is that's my choice. See, it's different in that case. Whereas you still begrudgingly still talk to your parents, which is
the resentment was drilled into me from a very young age when my father sat me down to watch Saving Private Ryan at the age of 10. Let's go ahead and take a look at Lijiang Tower now. You know what? You could talk for a bit.
I will say that Nepal. What would we get out of this map? We had a GC Busan that was still trying to figure out comps. I say that in response to the fact that they just played Winston the whole time, and Sanctum was decent, still lost, and then Shrine was a complete wash. Shrine was just awful. So now we look at Lijiang Tower. I gotta say, I think this is gonna be a ball map. Lijiang Tower is one of the classic good ball maps.
Yep.
So I'd be very surprised if teams want to go heavily into the Orisa. I wouldn't be surprised, because that's what both teams have been playing for the last 2 maps. But also, you have like the best ball map, and these teams don't want to go ball on this map. I'd be very surprised if they don't do that. I think this should be a ball mirror, or if one team does decide to go into the Orisa bunker composition, the ball team should have an advantage.
If there's one thing I will say, another, I think, significant difference between now and Nepal was we had on the other side of it a GC Busan that just didn't quite have enough coal in the burners on their DPSs just yet. They hadn't really got a good head of steam going. I'm talking mostly about Becky, who we've seen absolutely going on a tear. Obviously, part of that is being enabled for that, sure, but like we were seeing Becky dying a lot, just getting picked out, dying early before fights really broke out on Nepal, and even a little bit on this first part of Blizzard World. And since then, it's kind of flipped back the other way, where now Becky is really going off, often getting opening picks, often getting big kills late in fights, really impactful kills as well. So maybe that's one little thing I can point to as being a difference maker. It feels like GC Busan have hit their stride a bit more. So maybe that's what there is there. But there's still, I think, the potential for WGS Phoenix to just kind of edge it out once again, like they did on Nepal, which was otherwise reasonably close at moments.
So WGS are going to stick to the guns here. Seems like they have been favoring Orisa the whole time, and they will continue to favor Orisa for the rest of the series. Including map 6, in fact, especially on map 6, if we do go there, that will actually be Rialto as confirmed to be number 6. So it's not going to be back-to-back controls, because you don't want to have 3 controls. 50% of your entire maps are going to be that. GC Busan going back over towards the Winston. In theory, I do like the brawl. In theory, I'd like the Winston dive comp better, but I think GC Busan just played better on the Orisa, so I don't know.
Kind of feels the case. That being said, Anyshok individually has played very nicely on the Winston at certain times. There was a bit of a stretch on Blizzard World
when he kept
getting nano boosted and just dying anyway. It felt like that was more to the credit of WGS than to the detriment of Anyshok. But as the crow flies, Gurio finds an arrow directly to the head of Vulture. So now GC Busan just at a straight man advantage, going to go ahead and walk it on. Lego does get brought low, but stays safe, tops himself up with the shield in front of him, and even as the damage starts to come across onto Gurio, actually does go down. They don't quite finish off Arpen, so that cat hasn't gone over. Now hit it by the second. Dude is pulling it back from the brink, but no, Anyshok piles forward. They pick up a couple. Anyshok will trade his own life for it. Now Silvercoin as well. Arpen did not die that entire time, and it pays dividends for WGS. They invested in the housing market early. as they end up holding on to the point and now actually establishing a decent lead.
I just imagine that all the people who didn't understand the figurative speech that you had just assumed that Gurio shot a crow directly into Hidden's face or something like that.
Which would be a really sick ability. Blizzard, take notes. We need a Birdkeeper champion.
Okay, you just use the word champion. That's the wrong game. I'll hold.
No, as in like you make it and they're gonna win everything because they're the champ.
Oh, okay.
Or like champion is his name.
As now Transcendence will be popped by Aaron. This is Nano Boost. See how long any hop spikes. It's the same thing. He literally only got 10% ult charge to the Nano because he's instantly melted.
It's beautiful, man. I mean, you've got to laugh otherwise you cry, right? It's like what I did when the last Star Wars movie came out. GC Busan just absolutely dump trucked there.
I mean, usually what's meant to happen is you receive the Nano, and he wasn't, I think after the Nano was on full HP, because the Nano is a lot of healing. It usually puts you
it was
full
close
HP.
too.
So it's literally, in my mind, like 1,000 effective HP burned in a few seconds. He can't even get a primal off that. It's kind of brutal. It is extremely brutal that that's how fast he dies, even with Nano.
And now just with the supercharger down, brazenly in the courtyard. Gurio got a top one across. The Dragon Strike, what can get done with the primal is first the Deadeye just gets kind of waited out. And Hyox, I mean, he's almost dead. Imagine if you could put a Nano Boost into him right now. Silvercoin dead, and Gunwoo's taking a nap. He doesn't even need to be present for the fight. He's like, you guys have got this. I'm gonna go tuck into bed. It's going to be a flat 100-0 as WGS again finding their stride. In fact, even more one-sidedly than what we saw in Nepal.
It's going to have to be a Rissa mirror again. I think GC Busan, they know it. They can't play this. Here's the reason why you don't play Winston. A, Ball doesn't get melted in half second because he doesn't have a head, and he rolls through and he's got a lot of his own prediction. Secondly, you go to Rissa and you play behind shields, you're more mitigation, you got your own fortify. You play Winston, you just get owned. And that's that's like a main tank experience PPW moment where you're just, it feels awful. This is why people don't play tanks. You look at Inhyuk and he's got a primal, he's got the Nano, he's got like 1,000 HP twice, and 1,000 HP disappears in half a second. Interestingly enough, WGS will now be playing a Rhine. They're going to force a Rhine composition. I wouldn't be surprised if Hidden just stays on this meta actually. Is he changing? It does change, okay. So now I have to question, how do they get Arpen around the map? Because he's going to be very slow.
So now, the opening brawl kind of comes out. Becky getting the big pump up. There we go. Drop on Arpen. Becky stays alive as well. That's an important one to not get traded out on. As goes straight back in. Drops Vulture. The Immortality Field is the only thing keeping Albam and Arong by a thread. As soon as it's gone, they drop with it. GC Busan much more resounding on the opening fight, though this is what we saw on Nepal as well. WGS won the first map, then GC Busan got the opening brawl on the second map and still lost it.
I can tell you right now that GC Busan's Doomfist variation is a specific adaptation to WGS's Orisa bunker. The fact that they're actually not playing Orisa is a bit weird for GC Busan, but they committed him with it is. He doesn't get to use his ult, he got stunned.
Traded. It is at least traded. Albam does go down, but you're really feeling the loss of Becky, especially as Hidden goes on an absolute tear. Dropping 3 members, an entire half of GC Busan. Just, I mean, peace has certainly been established. Finds 5, can he get the 6? Come on, let him have it. Nope, gets stunned, Arpen takes it. That's fine, you're happy with the quintuple WGS control of the point.
I think Becky would prefer Tracer here, but in this specific matchup versus Orion, I think he would prefer Tracer, but he's got an ultimate, and he would have loved to have burned the ultimate, because then if he dies, he can just swap. But he's stuck on this Doom now, he got stunned, couldn't media strike. Oh, okay, I don't know if they can get that kill now, probably not, I'll say. The Nano will go to Becky, Silvercoin's got nothing to work with, so here we go.
It's going to have the Deadeye there to contend with Arpen. Too far forward, eats some stuns. Now the Meteor Strike looking to layer it down on top of something or someone. Gets right in the middle, disrupts, immediately drops Hidden. Now the follow-up finds Wrong. The 1-2, bip, bop, bam. Let's go. Album down. Now GC Busan going to be able to get back in control of this point. The question is, will they be able to even up the percentage and even establish a lead?
So when you said album down, I assume you said album down. It was like, okay, dip top dad. That's lyrics.
Yeah,
is that the name of your new album?
Becky just dropped a new mixtape, yo.
That's what I assumed you said. So Becky didn't jump off the map. He didn't decide to die. He's going to stay on the Doom for now. There is a grab in play as well. No inherent good combos there. If you can maybe get the nade into a good position, you can definitely grab into a nade.
Supercharger first, as the window gets put out. Plus the rally running just makes it a little bit harder for Becky for the time being. Trump's got a decent amount of charge as well. Like you said, the grab's going to have to be it. As they still have that rally armor though. There we go, solid follow. Let's see what they can accomplish now as the Immortality Field is there and they just don't even go into the grab. It is percentage, but no fight.
It's hard. They couldn't drop the nade in there. The grab's angle was unfortunate. They need to have used the grab in a little bit more of an open area. Because they're using the choke and they had no flank pressure, you can't actually do anything. So the nano's still available. Again, has to continue to Becky.
Yep. Has to try and go forward and make something happen with it as well. Just takes a pummeling, runs off to the side. Does not have a health back available either. But there we go. Bionade onto Albam. They've got the Immortality Field dealt with as Arpen is brought low, driven into the mud. Becky with the fist coming in. Arong now looking to go down as well. They're keeping ahead of this one. Just barely, it feels, but they're getting the critical frags when they need them.
And that's actually given enough pressure that Arong and the rest of WGS back out from their own amplification matrix. 2% left. WGS might not be able to get this. There's another grab coming on. Like the Underwood.
Arong's dead.
They already lose a member.
Becky's really coming alive on this dude. This now slams down. He does lose his own life, but the tanks have been effectively dispatched off the grab to finish off the rest. They don't even need it in its fullness. That's GC Busan evening it up, and now once again, match point genuinely in their sights.
Yeah, that last frag, well, I should say the first frag onto Arong was massively important. That gets them so much in terms of advantage. And then beyond that, you just look for a final grab. This time you can just grab off the point, keep them off it, and stop them from getting any sort of contest. Becky, despite dying, it's like, okay, well, I guess it enabled the grab to come on through. Silver Coin's inside his own grab, gets all the damage done. And that's all GC Busan need. They, again, I repeat, we're not planning to play a Doom into a Rhine. They were expecting the Orisa to come through, and then they just sat on the Doom and said, well, it's kind of working. We might as well just stay on the Doom and just see what we can get out of it. And what they got was actually a lot. Arpen now onto the ball, and GC Busan, they probably won't expect this. They probably expect another Orisa, but they're going to be versing the ball instead.
So now, see how the opening scrap goes. Arpen just getting stuck in. Inhyok super low. It's actually Silver Coin DMAX first. And now the attention applied to Inhyok, who is admirably staying alive for quite a while, but eventually the damage, the crowd control, it's just all too much. Very clean from WGS. Even with the two losses in the middle as Becky gets support, it's just far too late to do anything.
He's not going to change. Okay, he's going to stay on this Winston here. To be fair, it's a slightly better matchup versus a ball than trying to dive into the Orisa composition where he just gets burned. So maybe it will be having some decent value. Actually, the other reason you might not want to change is Quasar then on the Ana is in an off pick. Like, that's not a great pick if you're not playing Winston, so it would actually require two members to change. And Quasar's on his way towards a Nano, so stay the course for now. And once more, you have another situation where GC Busan are just going to try their best to see what happens with this type of composition. At least the McCree pick's going to have high value here. Nano's only a little bit away.
Oh my goodness, I'm so stressed watching Inhyok all the time. I need to stop watching his health bar as Quasar gets demolished by a pulse bomb, so not even going to have the nano play onto Inhyok. It just feels like this is doomed to flounder.
Well, Quasar died. I think it would have been fine if it wasn't for that. Decent stun in mid-air is all to stop Arpen from slamming down. It's 40% gone. Now, what they really needed was, as soon as Inhyok started to take some damage and you had a position to dive, Nano straight away. Quasar maybe dies anyway, but they have the potential to win a fight off that. Forces trance at minimum. Now for GC Busan, they will have to just engage Nano, hope for a primal. I don't think Inhyok should melt. That's the good news.
I mean, he is hoping, right? I don't think it should happen, but that's not to say it won't. That being said, Goodyo finds his counterparts. They're both channeling Deadeyes. That's a fun one. Proper cowboy duel. Hyunwoo D-Max, that's a solid one. And Hyuk still does go down, but it's a man advantage for GC Busan as for as long as they have Silver Coin, which is surprisingly long. In fact, now even has the self-destruct to reset the mech, and just in the nick of time as well, we'll be able to get back in that one as they finally gain control of the point.
Nearly stopped Hyunwoo from remaking their result, which just got a little bit too dangerous towards the end. Becky still has like 100 extra HP to work with in terms of armor, and we'll use a lot of that. We'll just run through the other team and give them finally a cap on this point.
Solid clean up there on the second go around. Just some extra kills, some extra ultimate charge for GC Busan, who have a lot of ground to make up now.
And Inhyuk finally sitting on that primal. And you have to imagine as well, part of this is just coming down to the fact that GC Busan never got a good fight going previously. Otherwise, Inhyuk wouldn't have started the fight where they won at like 40-50%. He wouldn't have died. He would have had the primal earlier. Can they survive against WGS's next attack, which is going to be pretty dry, mind you. Vulture has to look for a stick. That's pretty much all they can do. We force a couple more ultimates from GC Busan. If WGS can burn this primal, that would be ideal. That would be their goal.
And now, time more or less on WGS's side, but being in control of the point at last for GC Busan means, again, good economy will allow them to close this gap. That's a solid stick from Vulture. Comparing contrast to Becky's. The Deadeye out for nothing, unfortunately. This is an opening for WGS. Tempo Transcenders, they want to get stuck in, not wasting any moments. As you saw Silvercoin ducking for cover on the side, Inhyok's going to have to go in for something as the Transcendence runs out. Becky coming in hot. They drop both DPSs quick as you like. Quasit's going to be back in the mix here as well, as GC Busan looking to pull this one back from the brink, to be sure. Despite the early loss of Quasit and WGS committing hard. Raiding out the self-destruct now before diving on in, finishing off a wrong. Solid stuff. A Pulse Bomb available as well. Probably wants to hold on to that for the next fight, as it's looking like GC Busan will even up the percentages.
One-click melee recall. That is really beautiful stuff from Becky, and rescued is it for GC Busan after losing Quasit once more. And they absolutely needed another nano boost, but they had some more options. Inhyok had himself a primal rage, survives, burns enough time off the clock, allows Quasit to come back in, and then getting the 2 kills on Vulture and Hidden. That gets you across the line. So we're going to hit 99 now, and GC Busan can actually win it here. This could be the 3-1.
Ooh, the stick onto Hidden. That recovers the fact that Goodigo is only just getting back into the fight now. Window officially closed. Nano onto Inhyok, straight forward, drops out, bam. That one's another hot fire. Up and down. It's all donezo for WGS. Not enough manpower here. Vulture not even going to be able to commit a pulse bomb. It's GC Busan. Smooth sailing through to the end, but you can't say they didn't have to earn it. Really turning things around on Lijiang Tower, and impressive result in the end.
I mean, the most impressive map in there, or even sub-map in there, was the Doom one on Control Center. That was a massive performance from Becky, who on both Tracer, as we saw on that last sub-map there was on Gardens, and across multiple other maps, especially on Havana. What a performance by Becky. And I got to say, look, if I could pick a player of the match here, I'd probably give it to Becky. Close call would probably be Quasit.
Yeah.
He also had some nice plays in there. I feel if there's a player I feel sorry for award, it's definitely Inhyok. So I just invented a new one in there. But Becky, that Doom performance, especially into a composition which was not what they were planning to play into, is a big deal to me. That was a massive turnaround, especially after losing Night Market and then rescuing the day with the team at on the Gardens after they lost Quasit at 5v6. That was a huge 5v6 victory that looked difficult to come back from. So well done. I'm impressed by that. That was a good cleanup. That was a good comeback.
Yeah, overall very fun stuff, I gotta say. Impressive how it all played out in the end. And it really did feel like there was a potential to actually go all the way to 6. I gotta be honest with you. With that draw in Hanamura, obviously, you know, assault beat assault, but it did feel like there was possibility, especially with WGS actually picking up the first map of Lijiang Tower, that we could have really gone the distance. Speaks to the closeness of these teams. And as we were kind of talking about at the top of the night, these are teams that are fighting potentially for those, you know, 2nd, 3rd, 4th kind of places to get that difference in seeding. And we talked about how important that difference actually is. A 2nd place goes straight into the playoffs. A 4th place has to win 2 whole matches in the play-in tournament, is what it's called, before they can actually get into the playoffs themselves. So the difference is very dramatic, very, very quickly. And these are the matches that are going to determine those standings for sure. So GC Busan, good tick in the box there.
And I got to say as well, in terms, because you brought up the standings, but the closest rival for GC Busan in their group is probably WGS. So
probably,
with this win now, you can actually maybe expect that GC Busan can get a minimum of 3rd place, depending on how well they do against Talon. And CC now looks Talon look above and beyond. Yeah. And CC, despite losing versus Talon, I would still expect to be the favorite team in that matchup eventually.
For sure.
But Diamond, after beating their closest rival in this particular group, assuming that Incendia Evolution, the Trials team, will be 5th place and will be the weakest team on paper, Diamond can feel pretty decent about their 3rd place finish and that advantage in the play-ins, which they'll be looking to lock in now. And they had to make a huge comeback, because I wasn't confident about what they were showing me on Nepal, and they they barely won Blizzard World as well. So now Diamond, to me, coming back from last season especially, are living up to where they ended off with, and they start off with just feet on the ground, running straight away. Yeah, really, really impressive stuff overall. And actually, I'm now interested. I'm just trying to rack my brains, because I'm pretty sure Team Diamond don't play CC. Sorry, not Team Diamond Busan, rather. Smash the 2 together, whichever way you like. They played CC a couple of weeks from now. I think it's week 3. They have their match.
And look, what I will say as well is, like, yeah, CC are looking pretty good, but I don't want to count GC Busan out ahead of that. Actually, if they go from strength to strength and even pick up that one as well, actually they start really knocking on the door of second place, which is a really big shift. Yeah. And it feels like WGS, just by losing this one match, are already inherently locked out of a second place finish. Best case scenario for them now is make it into the play-in tournament, and it's a question of whether they got to win one match or win two matches to make their way through to the playoffs. But look, with that, we're part of the way there, right? We're getting there. We're getting there. We've still got a little bit of night ahead of us, which is exciting stuff. We've got T1 versus Starlight coming up after this, so hang around for that. It's going to be a banger. Welcome to Korean Contenders, where we are just starting. We're starting the beginning of the end. We're starting the second half of the night, actually. We've already had the one. It's a solid one, I gotta say. We had a genuinely entertaining match between GC Busan and WGS Phoenix. GC Busan barely edging that one out, even with the draw in Hanamura on the middle there. Didn't quite go to the full 6 like we were maybe thinking it did, but still rounded out the 5. Now we move on for T1 versus Starlight, and I think the expectations are pretty clearly laid out for this one.
Also, I have a bone to pick with you as well, because before we went to break,
Please do pick my bones.
A little bit a while ago, you said to stick around because it would be a banger, and I think you lied, and I don't appreciate that you're lying to the audience, because I don't think it will be a banger. This should just be
no, I think it will be
sweep.
a banger if you are one of the members of T1.
I guess.
I think they're about to have a great time.
I think Philly fans can finally be happy that their main team is also winning, and it's not just their Contenders Academy team that wins all the time. So that's always a good thing for Philadelphia fans. Although, to be fair, it's usually been one or the other. It's usually been like, you know, when one team wins, the other one doesn't. So maybe now that Philly's winning, T1 won't. So that curse could always exist. So we'll see. But I have a lot of faith in T1, because T1 was one of the biggest teams last year. They had massive improvements. Let's be honest as well, T1 have struggled, and this is where that kind of interesting curse comes in, because we remember when T1 in 2020, especially the first half of the season, in fact for all of 2020, they were not a good team. You know what was a good team in 2020? The Philadelphia Fusion. They went all the way into the top 4. They had lots of finals. Okay, they didn't win the finals, whatever, but they had great success. And now,
that tracks.
And now T1 they've been great for most of this year, and Philly haven't up until this stage. So I don't know, maybe things will change. Just take a look at their roster. T1 come back with absolutely everyone from the previous year, which is a good thing. The only awkward thing about this is, what are they going to play now with the hero pools? We are matching the same hero pools as the Overwatch League, and this was a team that was known to be playing a lot of Brawl last season. Brawl is not available now. What's the go-to? Do they just go Orisa? What do they do?
I mean, I guess that's... Yeah, I was going to say, that's the whole thing, is we will find out, and I'm not going to try and answer that. That's not what I get paid to do. I'm not here to answer questions.
You get paid? I'm kidding.
Sometimes. No, all the time. Even when I'm not doing this, it's like people just pay me. They just give me money for stuff. Someone knocks on my door every Wednesday, and they're like, hey, here's $500. And I'm like, yeah, all right. At any rate, let's take a look at this roster. Zest, M3, Cleston, Bellisrare, Krillin, and Unique. Yeah, dude, if you think I can afford a house with $500 a week, oh my goodness. Well, let's go ahead and take a look across the other side of it, though. Starlight Gaming. This one's a little bit more mixed, shall we say. Still the kind of same faces as what we saw across last season. Of course, picking up Boone Joe from BM last season. Aside from that, Taka, Decal, Sungun, Emolga, and Maka.
It's all the... Sometimes you go through the rosters, you see that one odd BM play, and you remember that's right. Because you have this whole... This hermit crab thing going on, right? Like we explained yesterday, where the runaway players came in, and then O2 Blast offloaded their 3 players to BM, and then those BM players got offloaded elsewhere. So you just have this thing going on.
And then we had what was it? One of the Starlight players over on WGS Phoenix. There we go. That we just saw. So again, like it's just
the list now. So we're going down. So apparently that means WGS is below Starlight, which means Starlight should be very good then.
I mean, I will say that's the hermit crab method.
I will say this much. I still look forward to the potential of Decal popping up, because he is I believe he's a Contenders champion. He won with Talon back in Pacific a year ago now, and he didn't end up joining Talon for their Korean run through. And now Talon are looking like a monstrous team, but Decal still has that kind of I don't know, that kind of thing behind him. So we'll see if that ends up being a little bit of a boon for Starlight Gaming. I want to believe there's something here for Starlight Gaming. I want to believe that T1, because they're probably nerfed from their ability to play Brawl, because they can't play Lucio. You're not going to see the unique Lucio. They're not going to play their favorite composition. Maybe that levels the playing field.
Maybe. We'll have to see how it all kicks off, though, on Nepal. It's where questions begin to get answered. And, I mean, look, let's be completely honest. We're favoring T1 here. There's no two ways about that. What does success actually look like for Starlight here? Like, assuming they don't win, what is a successful game for them right now?
A rhetorical question?
It's a rhetorical question.
Unrhetorical to me, which is a little bit
it's all completely rhetorical. You can just give a statement in response that isn't actually an answer. You can talk about your favorite movie from the last year if you really want. I honestly don't mind.
Wow, you went to movies in the last year. That's quite brave.
Yeah, because there was only like 3 of them, so you don't have to think all that hard about it.
I watched Space Jam 2 recently.
Was it as bad as I think it will be?
It was a little childish, I'm not going to lie. I didn't enjoy it as I didn't enjoy it as much as Space Jam 1, which I did enjoy, probably because I watched it as a kid. That's probably the reason why.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't watch Space Jam as a kid. I went back and watched it as an adult, and I'm like, this movie is really, really bad.
You didn't watch Space
and I'm
Jam as a kid. Well, now I understand why you don't have a good relationship with your parents. That really does make sense.
They made me watch Saving Private Ryan instead of Space Jam.
So let's
take
a look at
at
T1's opening composition. Actually, both Farah. That's quite strange.
Look at that, baby.
It is strange, and it's also not strange because I think this is an adaptation to seeing all of this Orisa gameplay and the potential of finding some off angles, plays well into the Winston as well. It is ball versus ball. Interesting, no one playing any of that Orisa today. Both Decal and Zest taking a bit of damage. It's going to be hard to farm barrages. Make note of the fact that you are not going to get fast barrages here at all.
I mean, Decal is at 30% though. He is like leading the ult charge on his team, which is interesting to say the least. And Mulga though about to get demaxed. Oh, no, barely comes back with the brink, but the pressure is still mounting here for Starlight on the ground as T1 will get control of the point. That's without any kills coming through. Zest just kind of stopped mucking around with the dogfight and started committing to just getting the shots on the other members. Okay. Oh, doesn't find it.
Yeah, unfortunately the second shot's not. You need to see these divas get a bit more active. When shots start connecting on the fires, the divas need to swoop in to try and assist to get those targets down. Nano available now. Krillin will pop this one to Zest, no issues. Cap has actually gone the way of T1 already, so they were at least winning the ground battle. And Decal's taken a fair bit more damage.
MN3 holding on to a pulse bomb, just wants to pop that one out. Weston does get demaxed though, so they're in rescue mode. There we go, pulse bomb to Krillin, but Zest does find Decal. And Krillin did also get the nano boost off onto Zest before that kicks off. Let's see how much else he can get done. No, has to go to ground as Emolga's got to follow up with his own nano boost of all people to receive it. But honestly, if it disables the Farah, it's good business. Tack gets resurrected back into the fray. Starlight haven't quite closed the deal on this one just yet. Zest's about to come out of the base gate. It's taking a long time, and T1 could yet turn it around even.
You'll notice that there were no res in that last fight as well, so both teams marking their respective mercies and stopping them from getting res in play. Barrage comes on through, will miss. It's hard to get high value. Barrage is at all. The fact that Decal kills Zeskia is huge, so they just have to stop Unique from resing. They'll be okay. Decal dies.
Doesn't get anything with the actually he got Unique rather with the barrage, but it's just been 1-for-1s because as
finally
much as yeah, finally coming back in because Decal actually took out Taka before he went out. So as this all happens, T1 now on the whole looking to close this out. Round of the bed of 80%. Nope, Starlight just the last few. Finally, when all the chips down, the smoke clears 80% to T1, but finally Starlight complete the fight win.
It's wild that it took us this long to even see the first res, considering the both mercies have been quite active.
Bunjo did res Taka earlier.
Did he?
Like,
okay, so we've seen
earlier
2
in that
reses
fight.
I must have missed that one because it was a decent amount flying through. But I mean, that's worth quite a decent amount. So SLT have had like a 7v6 going on for a little bit, in theory anyway. And going back over towards Decal. Krillin can match in a half second.
Needs to actually land the rockets. I mean, getting the nano boost and using the entirety of it on a dogfight where you don't hit a single shot, to me, is just an egregious waste. Zest receives the nano boost, immediately puts his attention to the ground, takes out Marker. They do lose Belosria, which is a little bit unfortunate, but there is potentially a res to come on to him. Meanwhile, Bunjo is not anywhere near Marker. He's still going to be in the pocket of Decal. So Krillin going down now as Bunjo popping the wings. Starlight, losing Bunjo. That's a bit of a heartbreaker. T1 looking to just pull ahead now. They finally get the res in onto Krillin, so man advantage. Looking to cap this point before too long. They run Emolga off, get the DMAC as well, still holding onto a pulse bomb, but I don't think they'll actually need to commit it as they get the regrab at 80% already.
Emolga dying on 194 as well, so can't quite get the remake. And that's just not going to be enough percentage accounted for SLT as well. You look at 63 to 89 to 90. It will be a 99. Belosria was woken up. That's unfortunate. They can't even clean up that ball kill. And as we start getting towards the end here, unless Decal gets the kill, unless Decal kills, this is not going well for Starlight.
I think he was surprised to be face-to-face with Zest when he used that little rocket boost there. You could see he was like, oh goodness, he didn't actually take a shot for a couple of seconds there. But
no
meanwhile,
remake.
on the actual fight, yeah, look at that. Emolga gets taken. I like to say no remake, and Bunjo dead means no res either. Taka now down, T1 just looking to sail the Swan across the finish line. Starlight, not a whole lot left in it. Zest with another nano boost, a rocket barrage, dead down the center of the point to pick up the final two members, and that'll confirm it for T1.
You need to see these divas be a little bit more active in assisting these duels as well. It's not just about flying in their faces, having matrices. It's also about the fact that you have self-destructs, and you need to be looking for timings where, you know, the Pharaohs, they don't have their conk available, they don't have their jump available, and they might be stuck in a bad position. Even if you only get, let's say, the Mercy, which is actually maybe more preferable, that's a big kill. So a little bit of a slow game for the divas in terms of their activeness for assisting the Pharaohs in the gameplay. And the Pharaohs themselves was pretty, I mean, Pharah versus Ball in this kind of mirror, it seems like you actually do spend more time dogfighting with the other Pharah because there's nothing else to shoot.
So rolling out for a second one. They both want to do it. They both like the Pharah. Is it a dogfight or a bird fight? Like I know like there's the word dogfight from planes, but Pharah is definitely far more bird themed on the whole.
Oh, she's a plane.
Is she? Zest just dies to his own rocket. That's fun.
Res.
That is just taking a shot in the back.
Yep, that's a big punish right there. You're gonna have to see a situation where I can foresee that SLT can definitely get an advantage to get this cap going, but like I said, with Marka dead and no res on Tamaka, it's looking pretty rough.
And now Bunjo's down, so actually no supports at all. Every lick of damage sticks. Starlight not even quite finishing the cap as the interrupt comes in. MN3 just kind of loses his own life to make it happen. We'll have to see if that trade actually pays off for T1, who do have Unique back in the mix, back in the pocket of Zest now, who lived through that entire bit, and finally pays that one back, finding Decal. Bunjo is too far away to come into the res. Now Zest doubling his money, finding Taka as well, and T1, massive reversal of fortune. Starlight nearly capping, not quite. Now T1 get the starting control.
What a different game compared to literally every other match that we've seen so far this week. It's 2 days in the opening week of Season 2. These are the only two teams that have both played Pharah, and also having a lot of ball gameplay in there as well. It's just it's a different look entirely. And because it's a mirror as well, it's a strange matchup where the Pharah spend a lot of time shooting each other. The Annas on the ground are actually surprisingly vulnerable. In fact, the Annas should be the prime target, which is why you see Maka going down. Nano's being played in now.
And again, the dogfight, I don't know how I feel about these nanos onto the Pharaohs. It's a 1-for-1, 2 pulse bombs, 2 dead Arnas. Decal gets the better end of the sky battle. I refuse to call it a dogfight. Rez looking to come across now onto Krillin and Maka, so it's a man advantage for Starlight actually, as Zest has to come back the long way, but he'll just get straight into the air and start firing the rockets down. Starlight haven't actually got control of the point yet.
Wild how different a cat fight is to a dog fight in terms of what we think of. In any case, the reason why, okay, the nanos.
Yeah, one I think of cats, the other I think of dogs.
That's the literal way to do it. The figurative way is a bit different. The reason you see the nanos is obviously because the damage boost plus nano is a 200 damage rocket, and the reason why the Pharaohs are dogfighting after that is because if you land a single rocket on the other Pharah, that's a straight up kill.
Meanwhile, on the ground, though, speaking of straight-up kills, Zest just kind of pops off a little bit. And again, it feels like every time one of the Pharaohs is able to give attention to the ground game, suddenly a lot happens very, very quickly.
But if you do that, the other Pharah then potentially gets shots on you, so it's always the risk that you have to take. You need to find potential advantages, angles on the map, and that's a good shot they can't really capitalize on. So, you know, it's going to be a lot of 2v2 and a lot of 4v4. There's a 4v4 happening on the ground and 2v2 happening in the skies, and a barrage, which is a bit of a bait. When both Pharaohs have barrage, it gets really dangerous. It's a game of chicken now, so it is going to be 2 birds in the sky.
Yeah, I was going to say, he just kind of confirmed it, but Belostria eats an anti-heal. He is otherwise not too badly pressured as the nano boost onto Zest there, the first one to get committed. He goes in for the ground game, goes in with the rocket barrage as well. Taka eats up pulse bomb, but on the whole, nothing much gained out of the Pharah there. Decal his own nano boost, just looking to throw down rockets, doesn't want to use the whole barrage, not going to take that bait. Meanwhile, Sungun getting run aground off to the side, drops down. Unfortunate there, the first casualty of the fight. Starlight did squeak the cap across. There we go. Krillin goes down, but Decal's the bigger loss. We'll have to see what raises can happen. Unique. Oh, what a sleep onto Zest. He's a sitting duck, or indeed a grounded bird. And meanwhile, the rundown onto Boonjo, so no reses to come out from that Mercy. Meanwhile, Unique hasn't used his res. He can't anymore, but he hasn't needed to. His T1 in the pilot seat, and despite back in control of the point, going to be able to land safely. No crosswinds. It's a rocket barrage straight into a defense matrix. A classic play if I ever saw one. And T1 looking to just clear this one out.
And despite Zest being slipped as well, there's no opportunity for Starlight to get that kill. They were under pressure from the rest of T1, Balance, M3, and all the rest. And T1 will clean that at 2-0. Difficult to kind of get a good read on what was and wasn't going well there, because honestly, most of what we caught was the Pharah 2v2. Or indeed, is it a Pharah 1v1 with some Mercy support? Again, didn't see a lot of input from the Divas there, which is surprising to me. Usually, the way you swing these 2v2s in the sky is the Diva gets in as a third party to, you know, mess with the other player or, you know, pocket and support your own. And it's also funny that, you know, the one... because I remember I said the Annas were going to be the prime targets here, and then both Annas went down to pulse bombs pretty much straight away, and that's going to be the swing. That's going to be the swing part as well, where who can harass the other Anna better, because it's a wild matchup in terms of targeting, and the reason you're not seeing the Pharahs go for more ground targets is because you have no one to shoot except the Anna. You can only go for the Anna because the Anna is the only stationary target. Everyone else has got far too much mobility or too much mitigation in case of Diva, so it's about trading Anna kills and then finding small advantages elsewhere. It's a very interesting matchup that is, I mean, I'll be honest, it's a little bit boring, but it's also just kind of different. It's a very different Overwatch. I'm not used to seeing it.
We're playing a different game in this one. No two ways about it. Look, I know we're not actually going to see Pharah again across the other maps. Like we'll see a bit on Havana, but like. We're not going to see a whole bunch of it across Blizzard World and all that, but here's the thing. I want to now. I want to just see both teams just handshake and play Pharah Mercy 2v2, 4v4.
No, you don't. Or I'm going to go to bed. I will fall asleep.
Here's the thing, because if they do that, you probably will be able to go to bed pretty soon, because I don't think this match will last all that long.
No, it'll last very long because not a lot will happen, and it'll be very slow.
They'll just the Pharahs will receive nano boosts and then missile their rockets
all the time. And both teams will run around the map trying to hunt the other Anna down, and they'll trade Annas, and it'll be a 5v5, and then the Annas will respawn, and we'll just do it again.
Please tell us how you really feel.
So the answer is yes, you should expect to see it again, but no, you don't want to see it.
It's actually why I want to see it, is because I know it'll be a genuinely unpleasant time for you. I'm patient. I can put up with it for the evening.
I think for most people, it would be unpleasant. It's just not a fun. It's just not a fun time. I think it'd be a little bit more fun if I think the Divas got a little bit more active, or it'd be a bit more fun if, let's say, it was not a mirror matchup. Like literally, if it was not a mirror and there were other factors in play, that would make things interesting. But it'd
be a bit more fun if you turned it into a drinking game. Like every time an Ana gets rezzed, every time a Pharah dies during rocket barrage.
We're talking about drinking milkshakes here.
Drinking milkshakes, exactly.
Drink responsibly. Drink water and juice.
Gatorade is also acceptable.
Not a sponsored product, so we're not going to talk about that one again.
It's just well, I mean, milkshake is actually a trademarked word in some places.
Wow. Okay. A holder. Anyway, Blizzard
Fun fact. Sure. Is that a trademark's name? Probably.
Do we want, well, Blizzard is.
Yes, it is.
But also you could just say Blizzard, like, factually, here's a Blizzard that, as nature would create.
Like, if you were not aware of the game company and you heard Blizzard World, you'd be like, why did somebody make a theme park about snowstorms?
I mean, I think like a snow-based theme park is kind of cool.
It would be cool.
Like igloos.
The only problem, like, it would have to be snow-themed. Because if you did it in the actual snow, then you can't, like, have rides.
Oh, the point. No, you do it on a mountain. You have skiing.
No, it's like, no, but like you can't have like roller coasters in the snow and ice. It's not safe.
No, you just have you're on a snowboard, and you're on skis, and you do the loop
yourself.
I mean,
at that point, that's not a theme park. That's just a ski slope. That's just already a thing. That's not Blizzard World.
It's a snow-themed
that's
ski
just
slope.
Any given mountain.
It's a snow-themed ski slope. What do you want?
As opposed to like what a desert
desert-themed one.
I mean, you can do that on big enough sand dunes. In all fairness, you can like ride down them on snowboards and stuff. So here we go. The big substitutions coming in for Starlight. We're gonna bring in Violess, and we're gonna bring in November.
Okay, and that means probably
more Pharah.
No Pharah. Because you're seeing Sungun on over towards the Orisa. I mean, they swapped out Decal, who is their designated fire player. Violetta coming in for Hog. What is the Hog for? Is this good? No, okay,
nope.
It's just an opening hook, just in case Bellis Rio is going to get tricky. I understand that, I see that. And it will actually be, you can see that MN3 starting on the Hanzo is a response to the Orisa, so he's actually read this correctly. T1 had made the right call, assuming that Orisa was going to be on the attack, and SLT are going to be hard doubling down into this Orisa composition by also then dropping in, obviously, the Matisse, and then also the Hanzo, which I think is potentially because they thought maybe there was going to be an Orisa on the other side, but still pretty decent, still okay in the matchup.
I'm glad that T1 are defending first, because it means there's a chance that they just have a full hold and this map is over with quickly. Wow. Did I say that out loud? Storm Arrow dropping Boonjo there, so that's already the one casualty. It'll be a little bit of time burned off the clock for Starlight.
3 low there, but not critical. Not in any danger. Oh,
unlike my
goodness.
Ooh, marker. Just another one.
Is that a second? Is that MN3's second? Just tap with
It is. Literally 2 kills, both belong to MN3.
Wow.
Now, actually, Bellis Rio technically gets credit for like one of those environmentals, but MN3 still got one on Taka before he hit the water.
I did get robbed of one of the other kills there. It's important, by the way. Getting the Krill credit gives you ult charge, so it's actually kind of big that, well, it's huge that he got one, but really upsetting that he didn't get more, because he would have had to be way closer to mines. You got the credit there. So another slow game here as we're waiting for Orisa comps to reset. Nowhere near the ult charge for the amplification matrix, which is kind of the first thing you need to get, you know, I was going to say the ball rolling, but the ball's on the other team here. We'll see what Bellis Rio can do once this amp matrix comes down.
As the minefield in a little wee while, first the Dragon Strike to come across. Nope, November's just going to die, as is Taka. Starlight Gaming at this point. I mean, maybe they ought to make some dinner reservations. I don't know.
It's 9:30 in Korea.
You can have a late dinner.
Really late dinner.
It's fine.
Your kids on this team, they need to go to bed.
Well, maybe that's what it is. It's past their bedtime. They need to finish it as quickly as they can.
So we're still waiting for this first matrix to come on through. It's about 2 minutes and 30 deep into the map now. And now you can actually just challenge the matrix. It comes down, Krillin pops the trance, you can just play into it if you want to. I wouldn't be surprised if Bellis Rio just slams in with some mines directly on top of the matrix. So the one thing Starlight have been waiting for quite a long time, and I think this is their first. Is this their first ultimate? This might be their first ultimate.
There we go, MN3 immediately gets another kill. Zest actually gets one out with the Pulse Bomb. Nice stuff, good talk. Violetta gonna get D-Mech. Let's see if MN3 is the one who did it. No, it's Kleston. They're just taking more and more kills away from MN3 at this point. Really unfair by the rest of T1.
So if these are indeed SLT's first ultimates, it's been 3 minutes. And they're only coming up to ultimates now. It's been very one-sided. So again, not a banger unless you're T1.
Unless you're T1, exactly.
Still have not seen an matrix play, and it's getting dire. Unless Violetta eats the Scrav, they can't even really defend against Scrav. Yeah, okay, there is going to be Immortality Field, but I can foresee that being destroyed instantly by MN3 and Zest.
So now, we'll see if the banger continues for T1. 20 seconds just about remaining.
They can't even set up anywhere for this window. They can't even walk up to the point.
Nothing. And even then, T1, they're going to have ultimates on the defense anyway. A rally. I mean, look at that. Boonjo's 70% to a rally. Like, he's not even quite there yet anyway. Ah, look at that. Taka got 2. They're just going to get a fight win out of nowhere. Unless actually MN3 and Zest just pop off, which honestly I'm not going to count out. It's a shame to lose Kleston and Krillin. Like, literally the 2 most important ultimates, but even then Zest does still trade one back. So, not out of the woods yet here for Starlight. It's not going to be a guaranteed thing. We'll have to see if the rest of T1 want to commit further in. They'll actually have Kleston and Krillin back, so they probably will go ahead and contest this. They might as well.
Feels like a critical error. Also, it's an early rally as well. I think they're expecting that T1 will come back. In fact, they will. T1 will finally get this contest in here.
Here we go.
Rally's been popped, and the grab needs to follow from Kleston.
There's the Pulse Bomb. They actually don't go for a grab Pulse Bomb combo. Zest also goes down. That's a bit of a disaster. Now the grab out in the middle of nowhere. This was a disaster. This was really bizarre. But even then, they've got November. They've got rid of the Immortality Field. Sungun not getting much out of the Supercharger. MN3 does go down, but they've still got enough members in it. Kleston's actually got a whole chunk of charge on this some more damage can come out. Look at a D-Mech Violetta drilling that one down quick, smart. Nope, stays alive. Getting the healing in the back through the window. Nicely done. And Starlight, they're barely going to see this one over the line. And that was just weird. I'm not even sure what happened to Kleston's grab there.
Also, ironically, we're not going to even see November play in November because this tournament ends in October. So Starlight don't even have that going for them. And they've at least won this fight.
It's a disaster.
They've at least won this fight. Actually, if one thing that's going well for them is Boonjo used the rally as they were capping. And now he's got another rally pretty much in the bank. It's nearly there. So T1 came in, didn't grab Pulse. Like you said, I'm not too sure. They grabbed a bit of nothing. Pulse, bit of nothing there as well. And even then, before that, like what is it? Taka got a double kill on the Deadeye. Krillin could have, they got halted. I'm sure they got halted into it. Krillin could have popped trans. Kleston apparently didn't have a bubble. If he did, he would have survived. So interesting line of play there. I was so sure that was going to be full hold.
It seriously looked like it. I mean, even just getting 2 kills out early with Taka, the whole thing was just weird. A weird situation, and let's hope that we don't have continued weirdness. We've already had enough of it with the Farah deals and everything. It's now Starlight. I mean, they're not even actually really moving the cart right now. It's barely got anywhere.
Give you a break there. It's Zest missing a pulse bomb, which is we're kind of just back to just waiting now again. SLT really want to make a breakout, so we rally into window for sure.
Just gonna have to go straight out into the minefield to start things off. I mean, this is even a long rotation still. They're not actually on the cart. They're trying to rotate up to the high ground. Honestly, they're gonna get there, and they're gonna go straight into a grab. There's gonna be a Transcendence. Taka's gonna try and make a cute one again with the Deadeye. The yank out. Nope, no such luck this time.
Dude, they weren't even pushing. The whole time they were making that play happen. Getting no
not
progression.
even on the cart.
So the issue there is you're not converting that into any actual win.
Okay, the grab gets tossed out. There's a couple of follow-up shots. It forces the window and gets rid of the immortality field. Okay, Krillin just doesn't press the go button. I think that was a bit unnecessary. You might as well be safe. You've only got 30 seconds left, but at any rate, they're going to have to wait for that respawn.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the window was popped before the grab, but in any case, it's just like, nothing. Yeah, window got popped, you grab into it, and then Immortality Field was there as well. Kleston jumps off the high ground, no follow-up on damage. Zest didn't have a pulse bomb, M3 didn't have a dragon, so no obvious combos and no positioning to make. It's not even like Bella's Rhea was there to slam in or roll through, nothing. So, I don't know.
This is weird.
We are going to go to the OT. Yeah. We're still going to go to the OT.
It's like, what keeps going on is like nothing happens and then randomly someone dies. And now as we come to just like now 1 meter left, self-destruct toss forward, this is going to suck as it gets Kleston. I mean, genuinely, I'm expecting it to happen almost. Either team, in fact. But it's going to be SLT coming out the better end of this trade. This is, it's just wacky again. Like, what was T1's commit? Where, like, the Transcendence was kind of orphaned out. Where are these ultimates going? What is the game plan? It feels like T1 at this point are expecting that the win is just going to be delivered to them, and they're not playing properly anymore.
It does feel like SLT shouldn't have capped A or B, but they have.
Yeah.
Both were done in OT. Both
and it feels like T1's fault.
It's quite accusatory of you.
It is. How do you plead,
T1? As T1 now have actually run out of ultimates entirely, they can actually reset this push and stop it with one good application of the mines. And pretty easy as well. You do also have the bubble there to support Bella's Rhea. And you're waiting for the next combo. This time you need to see Kleston, M3, or Zest. One of those combos actually connect together.
Taka gets popped up, dropped down. No such like this time, no wackiness to come out of the Deadeye as they lose the immortality field. That's November drops, and MN3 is remembered that he can play Overwatch. Started getting kills again. Remember when that was happening back on the A defense?
And now it'll get even easier to do on the C. Unfortunately for all of the shenanigans in this game, SLT is not going to cap C. It won't happen. So it's going to come down to what distance we can fly. Again. 53.97 is what we have. I suspect maybe a couple more if possible. Okay, Kleston down.
All right.
So that will delay. To be fair with you, the dragon wasn't quite ready. It's ready now. So once Kleston respawns, and by the way, SLT haven't moved the payload with the 6v5 advantage yet. They have now.
Just getting it now. And again, it's like nothing happens and then someone randomly dies. We'll have to see Kleston instead of walking up.
Gameplay. You should describe Hanzo gameplay in a nutshell.
I mean, remember what was Scatter Arrow? Remember how that used to work? Pulse Bomb goes wide.
We can't go with the grab.
Yeah, where's the grab? Okay, fine. They get to with the Dragon Strike anyway because nothing matters anymore. Clayton is still going to be able to commit a grab. He's just going to lob at long range, find literally one person. They'll kill that person, sure. The cart's going to stop. 89.51 meters on point C. Never should have got that far in the first place. And now let's watch T1 muck around for 4 minutes and then just get their C cap in overtime as well.
They'll get A in one attempt. That's my prediction.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'm saying like we'll get all the way to C and then they'll muck around for 4 minutes and then cap it overtime.
That's also because C is just kind of shoddy to cap. But you know, I'll say this much. You know, I'll give an A for effort for T1 there towards the end in terms of okay, there wasn't a combo. You saw Pulse Bomb go wide, Dragon just committed in there, and then the grab used separately. You know, that's a passing grade. That's like you taking physics in high school, so it's a passing grade. It's barely good enough. Apparently
40%, baby.
It shouldn't be. I'm still disappointed. I'm still not a believer.
Well, oh, my dad's still definitely disappointed.
Exactly. You know, which is, you know, I'm surprised you still go to his house. Maybe it's because you're admiring what you don't have, what no one has. Let's be real. It's not even really your fault.
Yeah.
It's your dad's fault. As we now look at.
It absolutely is. I blame him for everything, actually. Even it's like thanks Obama, right? Like even when he had nothing to do with it. Like if I get like rejected for a job, for example, I'm like, oh, thanks, Dad. Way to go.
It's more metaphorical in the sense that it's not so much the singular person as much as everything he represents in terms of that generation. So that makes a bit more sense. He won one attempt. What is the Anna for? Will it be
for funsies?
Will it be to pocket Cleston? Nano for Cleston?
Nope.
Just a single shot. Actually, that's kind of a cute play. Did you see? I don't know if you saw that, but that was a TP to put MN3 into an angle for a shot and then TP backwards. Change comps now.
Super cute. Didn't work though. Now MN3 is just going to get 3 kills on Hanzo.
He would have to do it against a shield, though. So somebody from SLT would have to misstep, I feel, which is not impossible. And of those, Taka most likely, because he's trying to make counterplays with his own arrows. That's bubble offensively gone now, so Buzzfree's going to have to make a play without it, or I guess he'll just charge some energy. That works.
MN3 taking a couple of punts as well. So
here we go. Good dive.
There's the pop-up. Let's see if they can get the conversion around the corner. Nope, Unique. Just too much gunfire right into his face. And now MN3's down as well, so Starlight will be able to anchor this first defense successfully despite the solid pop-up from Bellisria.
Disappointingly, that means T1 are not going to get in one attempt. So that wasn't great.
They want to waste the maximal amount of time. They get paid for each minute they play.
That was true. We'd see the fires again in the mirror.
I see Farah in the mirror every morning.
This is is it hard to break into, is it not? They need to be able to bait out abilities like the Immortality Field, which I can't actually remember if that got used or not. If it did, that's great.
I don't think it did.
There is now a Pulse Bomb, but the problem is because the Immortality Field is probably still there, the Pulse Bomb is going to just go straight into that field, and that's assuming it does stick. Supercharges very quickly online, so Sungun's got that advantage. Well, that will be pretty nice.
Bellisria just taking a little bit of a pummeling there, should be just fine. Get himself topped off in a second. Still just waiting for the angle in, see if Zez can maybe get something with the Pulse Bomb. Like you said, the Immortality Field should be there. Quick fingers from Marker.
So this grab is not coming on anytime soon either, so you're going to have to just throw that one in there. This time it's
in no hurry. There's the stick. Yep, okay, it does take out the Immortality Field. So now that's going to be supercharged in response from Sungun, as T1 will have to wait that out a little bit, so gives Marker time to get another Immortality Field up.
Let's be real, the Immortality Field took out the Pulse Bomb in that case.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
That's kind of how that interaction works.
Just swapping cooldowns, really. Here we go. Here's the committer now with the minefield, getting the pop-up. It's going to be Tac Visor to respond. Taka brought a little bit low, actually. Looking to go down. Bellisria, nice find there. Now November as well. And there we go. MN3 gets his first of the 3 kills he's going to pick up. Pleasant's grab gets hit. He's like, Violetta, are you hungry? I've got leftovers. As SLT, they're still going to lose the fight. MN3 gets the second one. I'm still waiting for the third. Nope, he's going to die as Violetta gets 2. Nothing makes sense anymore. T1.
Hey,
I mean, I don't know if they can get this at this point. They got the closer respawn. They need to get more kills.
I think Starlight... Okay, well, it depends if they can actually hold this fight on. OCS actually has Pulse Bomb now, but the kill
barely alive.
They're losing supports. Krillin, I don't even know if he's here. I don't think he has. SLT off that fight win might be at the full hold, and because I've said it now, it probably won't happen, but Starlight
like
Gaming,
I said, It's going to take as much time as possible for T1 to win.
Because the problem is T1 were in this exact same situation where they could have full held, and then Starlight got a miracle fight in there. It depends if Zest can find a pulse or not. Maka, I assume, has an Immortality Field ready to go, which is upsetting for someone like Zest. But T1 are going to have to find their openings. If Ballas Ria can force his lamp early, then Zest has an opening.
It's upsetting for me too. I'm actually past my bedtime, so that's the real story here.
Yeah. And
because I'm a boomer.
So that works. Okay, never mind.
No, it was the other end of the spectrum. Actually, that's not true. If I were a boomer, I'd own a house. There we go. Pulse Bomb out. Doesn't even fade out the Immortality Field, actually, so not even anything gained from it. They may just pick up a second, third here, or at the very least, they'll get a few more percentage points. Waiting out some cooldowns now. The Amplification Matrix, the Supercharger, all the damage multiplicators. MN3 just hanging off to the side. He's got over to a Soldier. November's nearly dead, but he will stay alive.
Supercharge is going to be gone now. The upsetting thing is SLT couldn't actually, they separate their ultimates. They use both at the same time, and T1 just choose not to commit to it, which is the correct thing to do. So can Krillin get this Transcendence in time or not? Because if they can, maybe they can just force it, play for a tempo.
Oh! Does still find MN3 though, so that's important, Cleston. Otherwise, that would have been a huge value play. There we go though, Taka goes down. Cleston was not done with that. Wants to add insult to injury. November with attack visor. Finding nothing but nothing now. Starlight, not anything left in the tank, really. The rally to come up soon from Boonjo, but as it is there, also Neek close to respawn as well. There we go, the stack finds Sun Gun, not rescued by the Immortality Field, just barely outside of it. Now the Immortality Field down, and look at that, T1. It looks like they will be able to get this one done. It'll be in the overtime. As I said, maximum time elapsed.
November's just going to try and hold on to this one. No, Maka is going to go for this one, but November's down. The prime member to use this window has fallen. Now, unfortunately, Maka's going to drop this Amplification Matrix for no value at all. They will have that ultimate just kind of wasted at this point. T1, 230 to get through. There's still a real chance. In fact, no, I expect now that T1 should go into OT again. Now, can they actually cap in the OT for B or not will be the next question. And a lot of that will come down to how much initial distance you can get on this payload, because SLT still have abilities to maybe try and stop this early, self-destruct for an engage. That's actually not that strong. What they really needed was the window. Sadly, that's off the table.
And now, just about 2 minutes. Just got to keep the momentum going, keep the cart push happening. That's already, the Immortality Field, so all the damage now, they can get those picks. They're keeping good presence on the cart, Starlight. They don't want to let it move for free, but there we go, MN3 down to Taka. The Pulse Bomb did go wide from Zest as well. He actually doesn't want to connect any of those. He doesn't feel like it.
Well, he felt like it to win A, so I'm sure at some point he'll feel like it again to get the team across the line.
Maybe.
So he can go to C as a bit of damage to the Ballas Ria, but not enough to get that kill. Payload has slowed down quite significantly now. I'm trying to figure out where exactly it is on the field. Seems like it's okay. Is it under the bridge, though? That's my biggest question. If it's at least in the bridge, then T1 can start making some inroads on the high ground and pushing Starlight off, and then we can start talking about a potential beat cap. And at this point, yeah, that's not bad for the payload. It's okay.
It's decent. We'll have to see now if they can get the rest of the distance, because they don't have a lot to work with. They've got a Transcendence, which is nice. It'll help them against the attack visor a little bit. As the attack visor, there we go straight to the back of Cleston. Krilla's there with the answer. Starlight, though, they have all the response. They have everything they need. They've got the Supercharger ready to go. Got the rally running. It's fine. Zest is dead.
So T1 might have to back off of that. They don't have enough ultimates to contest anymore, or they don't have enough players to contest either. So now comes the interesting part where are they able to get enough done in less than 30 seconds? Because you need to be able to try and fight for high ground control, but also maintain presence of the payload, and both might not be achievable, especially with MN3 down. That is the worst time to die.
Goodness sake. 12 seconds left now. They still kind of just have to wait for him. Nearly has the Dragon Strike. They're going to have that. They're going to have a rally. It's just bizarre. Like, they don't have tools really to work with. They've got the rally. That's maybe the biggest one. Amplification Matrix just covering the angles on the cart. Cleston has to play hot foot to keep on it. Just juggling the overtime. Ballas Ria is down. Doesn't even get a minefield out. And Cleston's D-Max. So that's it's a huge value Dragon Strike, really, as MN3 just gets absolutely nothing at all. They've got rid of the Supercharger. We'll have to see if they can maybe get kills. Nope, Zest takes out the Immortality Field, so November goes down. Cleston, here we go. Marker now dead. It's trades. It's trades that kind of favor Starlight with the closer respawn. MN3's back in the mix. Ballas Ria's here as well. It's going to be down to the last. Is MN3 just going to start playing Overwatch again? It looks like he is. and suddenly towards the end, they're going to be able to close off Violetta. And they may yet actually cap off this. Sungun to kind of anchor this defense, but the rest of T1, they're trying to respawn as well. Nice catch onto November on the run through. They'll even get rid of the Immortality Field, drop Sungun, and that's the cap coming through. This is just ridiculous.
What is going on? MN3 sitting so many classic shots. He's like 5-6 kills deep now. These incredible arrows, like November can't even rotate onto the other side of the map to join his main tanker Sungun, and now a couple more just late kills, just forcing staggers out. SLT might drop the ball here, and I can't believe it. Both teams could have probably have held at A, probably have held at B, or get held at C. Now, I don't know if SLT can complete this hold or not. There's about a minute left, so one good fight here. It's going to come down to MN3 versus a Amplification Matrix plus November on the visor. I have to say, on paper, SLT have way more to work with and should be able to hold.
It's really in the balance, honestly. Dragon Strike going to come out first. See if that gets anything, creates a bit of space. Immortality Field going to get rid of. Just kind of waiting out the tack visor for the time being as well. Krillin has Transcendence. Here's the window. Opened up now for a marker. They're just waiting. There's enough time. This is silly.
T1 don't have to fight this. I think the window is early. Now that's Starlight giving away one of the biggest tools. Vice is gone as well. Oh my goodness, they've actually given away far too much, and T1 are now banking of ultimates, about to react and drop mines. Krillin has Transcendence, just use it. It's just a free one now.
The only thing here is going to be Boonjo with a rally, maybe, if he can get it up in time, should at least be able to. The fight kind of breaks out now. Cleston tosses one forward. There we go, finds Sungun, and it's just all falling apart. Boonjo's not even going to get the rally up in time, and the cap comes through. Maximum time elapsed. I called it.
Yeah, but mine was a little bit more interesting because
yours was more likely to be correct as well, for what it's worth. Like, mine was a stupid thing. Like, it was just a bit of a meme. But T1, I mean, I'm struggling to wrap my head around this. It feels like they are underperforming in just the silliest way possible.
It's just strange because it's almost like it's a lot of nothing, and then just somebody pops off right at the end in the OT.
And it doesn't feel earned, by the way, when that something suddenly happens, when someone just kind of pops off. It doesn't feel like, you know, teams have like opened up and created opportunities. It feels like a thing just suddenly happens. It's like the most unsatisfying way for a game to play out, where nothing happens and then something happens just because it's completely random.
I'll tell you what it is.
I don't know.
It's like, if you watched that MN3 pop off on Hanzo only in a highlight reel, I'm sure it'll end up in one because it was great. If you watch it only in that, it would look fantastic. It'd be like, wow, what a great game. But the payoff just doesn't feel worth it because the rest of it was so uninteresting. This is like me watching Space Jam 2, and I just wanted to see LeBron dunk one time. And I waited a whole movie for it, and it wasn't worth it. And I feel like I watched the whole movie in the trailer instead, which is what watching him in 3 and a highlight reel is going to do for you if you miss this game. So, well, at least on this map anyway, Blizzard World was just a strange affair. I don't know what was more, I don't know what I prefer, the Pharah 2v2 on Nepal or this. Both are a little bit, I don't know.
The teams want to make sure that you just don't have a good time. That's what's happening. They're like, well, let's not do the Pharah, but let's still not make it interesting. So with that, we're going to take a bit of a break. Maybe one or both of these teams can remember how to play Overwatch in that time. I don't know. We'll find out. T1 at least have a lead. It's 2-0. So I don't know. Maybe even if it's boring, it'll be over soon. We'll catch you on the other side. I shouldn't have said that. That was wrong. Welcome back to Korean Contenders. I've been sternly told off. I'm only allowed to say good things about both of these teams now. So T1.
I didn't get that same message, so I'm going to continue. So,
yeah, please do. Please do.
Yeah.
We're gonna good cop, bad cop the rest of this broadcast. So I have to be the good cop. So T1. They are handsome. They have great complexions. I assume they have strong skincare routines. And I hear they've each got a lot of friends. Starlight Gaming, on the other hand, have very magnetic personalities. They really light up the rooms they're in. What's another good thing? They have nice teeth, nice straight teeth.
Okay. I respect that you complimented them with everything that you don't have. So that's good. And also, you can be both good cop and bad cop.
By the way,
I'm the sarcastic cop.
Just real quick, the thing I'm most offended about by what you just said was the implication, like my teeth.
Well, the problem is, you chose to end on that. The issue here is I was going to say what I was going to say if you stop short of the teeth part. But because you included the teeth part, I was like, well, it's in the bag now. It's been caught in the entire. You know, the entire fish net at this point, so I can't help it. It's just one of the. It's like I got all my fish, and there's a turtle in there. I wasn't planning on it, but it just happened to be there.
Guess I'll eat this turtle as well then.
Oh, you're disgusting! I would have thrown it back in the ocean.
Well, no. Did you know that it took them like hundreds of years to actually get a live Galapagos turtle back to the UK after British sailors first found them because they were so tasty. They kept eating them on the voyages. I really shouldn't laugh at that, but it's true. How stupid would you feel because like if you're on the voyage and there's like a turtle there and you've heard about how delicious they are and you're like, it is months at sea. Like, what are they going to do? Fire us all with sailors?
Random Pixie fact number 285.
It took so long.
I'm gonna start cataloging some of these. Dude, if you got paid for all the random facts you gave out, you could afford a house.
Yeah. I was like, if I had a nickel for every bit of trivia I knew, I'd be making money in a weird way.
Sadly, you don't get paid for having all this dumb knowledge that doesn't help you at all.
I actually started doing stand-up comedy recently. Now I get paid tens of dollars.
That's I've heard that before. That's a very classic stand-up comedy. Line,
it is. That's how you know it's true.
Will give you a token chuckle because I think it's well deserved.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I know, and that's what I do.
You got to earn that $10 somehow.
I do the stand up for the token chuckles, really, where people are like, "Well, it wasn't funny, but he's put in the effort, so I'll give him one."
All right, so there's not going to be fire, thank God, but there is going to be. So we are going to see. To be honest with you, this is the same compositional matchup in terms of mirror that we did see in our previous match between WGS and GC Busan, of which. I mean, let's be honest, Havana, Arissa, it's been the way for so long. Both teams running exactly the same thing, except for Naka, who's on a Zen, and I'm not too sure if I like that because, yeah, the break. Oh, I actually don't know. Now I'm really thinking about it. No, I actually prefer the Zen. I changed my mind. I 180 that one. I actually prefer the Zen to the break in this composition, just for the extra span.
All right, well the Zen's dead, so they heard you. They're like, oh, he likes this? No. Let's get rid of that. That's honestly all I have to add. This is barely a fight.
Yeah. You come onto this broadcast for useless facts and
that's really it. Like I'm not even here for the Overwatch anymore. I'm just here to make dumb jokes and drop trivia.
So Boonjo's on 85-ish, 83. I expect him to hit another shot, I'll be honest, twice at 85. As SLT will be getting the first window of this matchup, and that should be the turning point. MN3 stays alive though. I am suspecting I've cursed him. I am suspecting
MN3's dead.
Yep. Come through.
Don't ever suspect, because the teams will intentionally do the opposite now as Unique goes down, Bellasaria as well. Everyone on T1 is like, you know what? Why don't we just die?
But you know what? MN3 will come back and pop off again in the overtime. So
exactly, but only on C.
No, he actually did that on B. We're going to be accurate about it, and I'm a stickler for accuracy. So
no. This is I'm not talking about the past. I'm talking about the future. This is my prediction.
Okay, cool.
Unit's going to be 30% good, and MN3 is only going to pop up on C.
And Boonja's already used the window now as well, so this is the perfect opportunity for T1 to claim some space. Window on the side.
Nothing with the Dragon Strikes.
Oh, it just gets strike the response.
Oh, okay, that's going to be Immortality Field taken out thanks to Zest Pulse Bomb. So no Immortality Fields either way, which means Pleston D-Mech. Mark are trying to come into the rescue, doesn't quite save November, but they will be able to pick off the rest of these tanks of T1 anyway, so the damage has long since been done. It is only Taka putting out the damage in terms of pure DPS, but 3 actually coming back in hot. Zest, here we go. Now the DPSs of T1 still coming in. They do lose Zest, and there's the cap. No, not quite. Never mind. I'm talking out the wrong hole.
Mad smack right now as T1 is still holding on to this fight. It's 4 versus 6 though, which is a little bit of a problem. If they can maybe get rid of Boonjo, this is definitely winnable with D-Mech from the Violetta. I don't know. SLT have lost all form. And try and get this cap. I think they're only like, is that 1 meter off?
Yeah, 1.4. Exactly 1.4. I learned how to see
the Americans.
blurry things from a very young age on the internet. So 1.4 meters, I can tell you. In terms of feet,
just Google
that's
it right
like
now,
roughly 4 feet, 4.5.
But you're trying to make it sound like you didn't Google it, so you're like, oh, I think it's like, yeah, roughly.
No, I like, because I have to run D&D, and it's made by an American company. I keep having to convert feet to meters, so I've got a little bit good at it. At any rate, speaking of getting good at things, T1 have remembered how to get good at Overwatch as they kill Starlight's tanks at long last.
You said you were going to say nice things, so, you know, you've broken that.
No, that was a nice thing. I said, like, it was positive that they have remembered how to play Overwatch.
Like a backhanded compliment. Okay, that technically is okay.
I'm negging T1 right now.
You haven't broken the rules, but you have skirted the line, and I will give you a warning for that. As T1 now have 4 ultimates available, and it's like 15 seconds. I bet this will happen, because it happened on Blizzard World War. T1 should hold here, but they won't.
But they won't. Exactly, but they won't. But they still have great skin. So they've got that going for them still. That won't go away. Well, actually, it will with age, but that's separate. Look at that. Zest is dead. It's the beginning of the end of the beginning of the end.
Oh my god.
Bella's supercharger is gone as well.
Way,
It's a whole false bomb.
No way.
Pleston gonna get D-Max. Bella's dies. There is exactly a way. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Just sit back and accept it. This is what we're going to do for the next 15 minutes. Just come to peace with it now.
There's no... Starlight had no business winning that fight. Had no business winning that fight. I said it ironically, and I spoke into existence that Starlight had better win that fight. T1 have had now 3 back-to-back chances across 2 maps to complete a hold that they should have, that they haven't been able to. And they're still 2-0 up.
Oh, hell in a handbasket. It is getting tough to say good things right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. Did you know that polio was officially eradicated from the Americas in 1994?
Oh, who brought it back?
No one, actually. It's still gone.
Okay.
It was eradicated in Europe in 2002, actually.
Oh.
Because I have nothing to say about this game, so I'm just going to give random facts about polio.
Yeah, but you've never had anything about to say about this game for like 5 years.
No, honestly, no. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why people keep hiring me.
Why am I here? I usually work with Achilles. This is a bit of a downgrade.
Hey, at least my teeth are crooked.
6 ultimates for Starlight Gaming. Richard does have the first amplification matrix down.
Well, now it's down to 4 ultimates.
They really slowed things down. They've actually stopped pushing at this stage. So they're trying to get back on the payload.
They've
you need to see
killed
T1 find this window. You need to see Krillin
Pulse
get
bomb
this in due time.
Okay, Pulse Bomb straight into the Immortality Field, so no surprises there. Now is the Supercharger down, and up. Okay, MN3's remembered how to play Overwatch again. Here we go. Are you ready to start the cycle again? MN3's going to pop up in this fight. No. And then in the overtime fight, Starlight are going to win again.
Okay.
I was saying the cycle has to begin here. It has not yet ended.
Okay, yeah, because the attacking team that shouldn't win is then going to that.
Precisely.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
Also, there's no BAP anymore, so both teams have kind of given up on that. Is it that there's no good window angle here, or what?
Honestly, forgot for a second that BAP is a hero and thought you were talking about a sandwich. You're like, there's no BAP anymore, and I'm like, I'm sorry to hear that. Do you want me to order you a sub?
As long as you didn't mishear me say whack or something, that would be very different.
There is no more. Well, I mean, it's because we brought the bucket and the mop, so it's all gone now. At any rate, now here we go. Starlight in the overtime fight. Watch Violet get one. Nope, that's not going to do it. Where is it going to come from? It's going to come from somewhere. Nope, November dies to a mine. I mean, touch wood, right? But maybe T1 will actually win the fight they're supposed to win. Self-destruct out by Letter D Max.
Okay, maybe
not going to quite get saved by that one. No, Belisaria's gone down. Here we go. It's happening. November's looking to come back out on a Doomfist. Maybe that'll be the wacky one. No, here we go. The kill's coming through. They find the supports. They finish off Violetta. And finally, normality is going to be ever so slightly restored as Taka goes down as well. All right, T1. Go ahead and cap B in overtime.
Thank you, Joe Marsh, for finally whipping your team into shape for this B defense. Appreciate that. He sometimes watches. Shout out. It's actually a pretty cool guy.
Oh, okay.
Looking to get hired, by the way, if you're looking for people. I know I don't live in Korea, but I'd like to. Starlight Gaming. Were they the attacking team? They were.
You do get mistaken for being Korean quite a lot. I remember when we were there, the locals mistook you for being Korean.
Here's one thing that's really interesting. On not to like drop my own thing here, but when I coach from Al, and I sometimes do translations of the Chinese interviews on Bilibili.
Everyone's like, "Wow, this Korean guy speaks great Chinese."
Oh no, actually, what they say is I've had someone come in and say, like, "Man, I didn't know you could speak Korean," while I'm doing translation of Chinese.
I shouldn't find that as funny as I do, but man, that's great. That's really great.
So got that going.
Because we've been like doing this for a number of years now. Like I remember back when we did like OPC and stuff like that. You would like translate because like regardless of the language of the players, they would interview them in Mandarin. So they would always translate it into Mandarin for the benefit of the interviewer, and then you would translate that back into English as well. It's just really funny to me because some of those teams were actually Korean. So it was a Korean getting translated into Mandarin, which you were translating into English.
I'm glad the interaction between multiple languages do amuse
It's very entertaining to me.
At least you're being amused by something.
It's because it makes me think of when I was like 15 using Google Translate to just keep changing it in to one language then back to English to just garble the sentence up.
And now you can be 26 using Google measurement translation. It's not the word I'm looking for.
Google measurement translation. Really killed it on that one. I'll give a compulsory laugh there. You've earned it. Here we go. Starlight have remembered how to play Overwatch. They're the first ones to do so in this defending half as November picks up 2, then dies. Let's see what happens in the slower closeout parts of the fight as Taka looking to maybe finish off a few more.
Am I crazy? Did they play Tracer on the last half as well? They did, didn't they?
Yeah. I didn't notice either.
So, I say because Tak has kind of got off here, and he does have pulse bomb available. I do suspect that SLT should have a pretty massive advantage here. It's kind of wild to see anyone outpace a Batiste. Usually the Baps are the first ones to get these ultimates online. Both are pretty close to each other, but defensive pulse bomb here could really ruin something. So you can probably see a situation where Krillin wants to go for something, and the pulse bomb does come in. Now, it will just be a question of can they force the Mortality Fields or not.
Taka out, just hanging tight, in no kind of rush. 2.5 minutes still on the board as well here for T1. And interestingly enough, Starlight, I mean, they had a man advantage for a lot of that, but they also backed up and gave a lot of space. So T1, despite losing members, did get a lot of extra little cart push there. But now here's the moment. Pulse Bomb just kind of gets lobbed out, takes out the Immortality Field. Immediate follow-up onto Krillin. Nice job, nice conversion by Taka. And there we go, diving on forward. M3 trades that one back. Let's see if T1 can make hay while the sun is shining.
I mean, honestly, it's kind of job done again. I mean, Zest will also going to kill to November, but if you force the Mortality Field and then get the damage done anyway, it's kind of good. Okay, Starlight Gaming are going to fall. That's not bad. You look at they say, okay, why does Mako use the window there? It removes the pressure, forces T1 back, and gives a chance for Starlight to regroup a little bit. They're going to need that because T1 on the precipice now.
Springing back forward though with the Dragon Strike, and unfortunately November's own Dragon Strike just too far back in the map geometry, ends up too low into the ground to be too threatening. And T1 just continuing on. They even commit an amplification matrix. It's a little bit of an awkward one, I have to say. Now they lose the Immortality Field on Marker. Here we go, kill across onto Unique. Starlight just gonna suddenly turn this one back around. They've got the ultimates potentially to make it happen. They've already committed a couple in with the rally, with the self-destructs. Here we go, another 2-for-1 favoring Starlight, and another one as well. It's not gonna happen. This is just bonkers and yonkers, my dude.
No, they lost the healing, unfortunately. I don't know, I think Krillin might have been respawning. He wasn't with the team. Unique was already dead, so despite having 3 ultimates, they can't actually convert any of those. And there we go. That's the word I was looking for. It's not a measurement translation, it's measurement conversion. So there we go. Let's rewind back the joke and the reference.
I mean,
I'll get it right this time.
A translation is a kind of conversion. Like, you're
True.
converting from one language to another.
Yeah, it is. So I'm not technically wrong either. I just used the wrong word. I've converted the wrong word.
That was a real misconversion. Marker, in fact, both structures down now on Starlight, both the Immortality Field and the Supercharger. T1, no, nice stick. Really great stuff. That's going to be trades across the board, though. 2 for 1, barely favoring T1 for the time being. We'll have to see if Starlight take anything back as Maka goes ahead and commits the Amplification Matrix, just looking to get some firing through with November here. By the way, 20 seconds left on the clock, so T1, if they cap it, they are indeed going to do it in overtime, so I was correct about that.
I'll tell you what as well, just because there's Pulse Bomb into the Immortality Field doesn't mean you don't get the kills. It's just getting a Pulse Bomb kill with more steps, because you still have to land the shot afterwards. Krillin going down is going to be a bit of an issue with T1, so you're saying T1 can maybe do this. M3 would have to go off again.
Yeah, they at least caught November's Dragon Strike, which is something, and they've taken out the Immortality Field, so now every bit of damage does stick. There we go, November goes down. They'll have the respawners coming in as well. Unique does go down, so it's a trade currently 1 for 1, 2 for 1, favoring Starlight. Hold on, a hot tick. T1 may just come apart at the seams here as Belastria goes in to win it and ends up going down. Stunned up and dispatched off handily. Gleston now, the last man, kind of hanging around the point. Pulse Bomb goes wide from Zest. Doesn't even take out the Immortality Field this time around. Starlight are going to do it. We're going to go to another map.
Rally Armor, too powerful there. November coming back on a Doomfist as well, and Starlight Gaming will get it done. 1-2 now.
You ready to see a draw on Hanamura?
It depends on what they will play. So I have to first see what the
No. It's not about what they're going to play. It's about how they're going to play. And they're going to play poorly.
Well, they've exceeded expectations here, because if
Starlight had for sure.
If they were going to go that way, T1 would have won that in the overtime despite not having a horse in the race, but Starlight actually won where they're supposed to. So if we finally have a fight where a team that is expected to win actually does get that win, which is very important. So Starlight now going to importantly get a map. And just by the way, in the context of the series, if we go back to the storylines of T1 meant to be one of the top 2 teams in the group, losing one map here is potentially costly in terms of seeding, because now you're looking at a situation where if Talon Esports clean everybody up, and not Talon Esports, it's O2 Blast rather, clean everybody up, and 3-0 Starlight, this could be one of the few circumstances where T1 are just down a map in terms of tiebreakers.
Well, if there's a triangular win trade somewhere in there, then yeah. The other thing as well, I think, is look, at the end of the day, T1, even with the map loss there, I think if they're 3-0'd, this would still be an unimpressive performance out of them. Like, this isn't me just saying it to be mean at this point, because you're right, like, to recontextualize this in terms of T1 need to come up with a good showing, show that they are actually a real top dog, they're in good form, they're going to maybe even challenge O2. This is not convincing. This is so far from convincing, actually. You now kind of look at this across the rest of the group. I still think they should be able to take that second place, but it almost just kind of feels like it might be because other teams are just not as good, rather than T1 are really on a tear and O2 Blast are the only dog above them, right? Like, the feeling of it is completely different just based off how this series has gone so far. And there's no two ways about it. This is, like, we've even seen those moments where T1 are better than this in the course of this match, and it's not been consistent. It feels so off kilter. It almost feels like everyone's got food poisoning or something in this game.
Because the strange thing is, on Nepal, T1 was still clearly the better team, even though it was quite slow. Not a lot was happening, but you'll have noticed that they won every neutral. They had that first point cap, and because the game is so uneventful in that particular map, in that particular matchup, in that mirror, there was no flip back of the cap. You couldn't really challenge the cap, and you couldn't really challenge anything, so you were just literally waiting for the 0% to pick up to 100, and then that's the entire game. It's like watching paint dry. So even then, you could say that T1 outplayed pretty hard, and then it only got weird when there was that 8-point defense that fell apart where it should have been a full hold, and it wasn't. That was when things got whack, and that's where it started.
Yeah, this whole thing was... It's felt strange. You know what? I'm going to give a genuine compliment to Starlight here. I kind of want to follow up the remark you made about the thing that was supposed to happen actually happened. Like, the team we expected to win a fight actually won the fight. Not only that, but they also put in the groundwork for it, so there was actual payoff, right? The correct things happened. They disrupted the offense. They maintained their ultimate rotation. They kept drawing ultimates out of T1 that were used inefficiently. They set themselves up correctly for that winning moment as well. It wasn't like, oh, T1 just mucked about, didn't take it seriously, and then Starlight were just in a better position. It's like they actually set themselves up to be in a better position, right, and then also converted on it. So it almost feels like for the first time, we've had an amount of catharsis. It's just that it's not even in the direction we expected it, because T1 came into this as such an overwhelming favorite. This still doesn't feel correct. And rant.
Yeah. We'll have to see what happens on Hanamura.
No two ways about it. Let's go ahead. Take a look. Hanamura could well go to a draw. Could well, I mean, it's just one of those kinds of maps where, you know, sometimes a team just sort of wins it. Not to say that it's this complete random happenstance coin flippy thing, but like Assault is definitely one of those map modes where, you know, if you're an underdog team and you get a solid B defense and just get enough to squeak through a third then on your offense, hey, suddenly you pick up a map. Like, I genuinely do see a world where we go to a map 5 here.
Which will be our second map 5 of the season so far. It's crazy to think the last one was a map 5, even though it was a 3-1 result, because we had to draw in there. But to me, a lot of this will come down to what compositions we're expecting. Is it going to be the Orisa gameplay again? That is such a stally type of matchup that the likelihood of a draw does become fairly expected almost. But depending on, look, could there be a Pharah? Can we go back to some Pharah? I don't mind Pharah gameplay versus the bunker comp. It's only that Pharah mirror that's kind of boring, but if it's actually versus a different comp, then we got some interesting things to talk about. But otherwise, probably not expecting either team to go towards Ryan, even though I think T1 would be tempted towards it. Ball is actually strangely viable, especially on A, it's very viable. B, not so much. A lot of questions to be answered in terms of how teams want to approach this. I think the most likely answer is that teams will just go towards the Orisa again.
Well, there's only one way to find out, and that is to get on with it. Hanamura, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go ahead. Let's bring this one home. Wherever home may be. Decal's going to come back in over November.
Is that...
Please tell me they're not going to run a Pharah.
I don't know if you heard what I just said, but I think a Pharah would actually be fine. Depending on what the matchup was.
Oh, it probably would be fine matchup-wise. I just have PTSD.
I feel like Sombra for now. I mean, Sombra dive could be the play. Violet is obviously not going to be on the Rhine, so this could be a legitimate Winston-based comp. No, maybe not. Back to the Orisa. T1 is going to do it. T1 is going to be playing this composition instead. So
okay,
they actually have a reasonable chance of just holding the doors. Because if this was versus a Rhine comp, I'd say they probably have a bad matchup. But versus an Orisa matchup here, Belisri and Clifton have a good shot at just holding doors. There is going to be a TP though. Takka's going to TP across.
Fair enough.
High ground.
Waiting for the setup. There's the movement over.
Just go to the point.
Nice, nice Bionade, at least onto the tanks, but they need to convert on that. They're just happy behind shields. Belisri is already down, so no real counter dive from T1. The tip of the spear is snapped off. We'll have to see if maybe they can just kind of bludgeon them with the blunt instrument. The blunt shaft now is Zess and M3. Another sick Bionade from Krillin, but they just aren't able to convert. They finally find Takka. Violetta will get denacked here as well. There we go. Something coming back across now as they've lost another, but they may yet cap out. They have to get presence on the point. Cleston has to be the sacrificial lamb as Krillin goes down. Cleston's on the point, gets denacked. Belisria now as well on the point. Naka here with the window deployed. No supports. That's the break point that T1 need to turn this fight around, as now they can actually finish off the rest of these members. That was nearly a cap.
The most critical thing about that play that people may have missed here is the fact that SLT TP straight onto the point. Then what you see is MN3, and I think there might have been one of the members, MN3 specifically on the Hanzo, actually rotated towards the spawn where the double doors are and where the TP was. And after Krillin landed the 4-man Bionade, Starlight Gaming TP'd a bunch of members back over towards the double doors again where MN3 already was, and then he got a lot of damage, and I believe it killed Tanaka.
So now, second teleport play, just looking to squeak across that last bit of percentage, means no breathing room for T1. Yeah, there we go. Nice find on the pulse bomb. They do have the rally running though. That's getting some good mileage. Bellisria not getting as much as I think he wanted out of this Primal Rage. They've still got the supercharger down. Finally now dealt with that one, but look at the beam damage onto Kless, and he's really feeling the heat. They don't quite have the nano boost yet either out of Krillin. Nearly have it. Might just, nope, not going to get it in time to save Bellisria. Now the question is, who do they deploy it onto? They need to commit to this fight. No Kless, it's Team X. They're just losing the tags. No counter trades, even with Sungun slept. Attacker's even got a light wall if it really comes to that, but I don't think it will. At this point, gonna save that one for B. Is Starlight get a cat?
I took an extra attempt there. They did lose a fair amount of time to get across the board. What they will have is actually plenty of ultimates. It's going to have to be Krillin, nanoing Bellisria on the defense, but for Starlight, get TP across towards the left. Blizzard's going to be brutal here because they can just play point, Blizzard the point as well, and Bellisria, even with the nano, it's not going to feel good. MN3 on the Doom is actually a pretty good shout because it can instantly frag a member, even escape from the Blizzard as well. Let's see where Taka puts down this symbol. The photon barrier should just cut across.
Okay.
MN3's dead, that's huge.
Yep, that's a real big opening. Here we go, the light wall out, teleporter immediately in. Starlight just setting themselves up pretty. They've got a Blizzard to chuck down onto the point as well.
Should do it
That
soon.
is the immortality field gone. Actually, Boonjo's dead
Feels
as well
like.
prior to the rally. Finally, they get this out, but they've already lost another DPS. T1, yeah, sure, they're starting to get to the points, but they're taking members down with them as Marker drops. And now Sungun. And, I mean, Starlight had it all. It was all there in front of them.
And I'll tell you one other thing as well, because something you said at the start of this was actually really important now, quite relevant, and it's that you need to be looking for these one ticks at a time. SLT probably got the blood in their eyes, they have the money in their eyes as well, the blood money in their eyes, where they're thinking, can we get all 3 ticks in one go? Can this be a one and done? And that's going to be quite difficult to do. What they could have done is just thrown everything to get that one tick, put down the photon barrier from their sim, drop down the Blizzard fairly quickly within the next 3 seconds after that, and just force that point. And if they do all of that in a row, I think T1 give it up. I think T1 don't engage the Blizzard, and SLT walk away with above 33%, and then we got a real game.
A little bit unfortunate the way it ends up playing out, because they're now in a big, long, slow rebuild. Meanwhile, T1, they've got enough ultimates sitting pretty on the defense. The self-destruct Primal Rage rally is going to be hard to chew through, and that's to say nothing of using that rotation to get a nano boost ready. What a sick Bionade. Krillin is killing it with these.
It does slightly slow things down, but not enough. Starlight will now just rotate directly onto T1. Another big fire.
Another one!
The armor is saving them. The Boonjo's rally right now is saving them from that nano, from that Bionade.
It's absolutely huge, but still, cornered as they are, Zest is happy to collect one with the dash, and the self-destruct even from Kless just made it even harder. Bellisria is frozen, though. Doesn't get the support he needs, though barely stays alive. They didn't have the eyes on the healing angle. They just killed the rest of Starlight before they could finish off Bellisria in a timely fashion. That was a bit of a break point there for Starlight, but it goes the way of T1.
Yeah, it's unfortunate they just couldn't quite get an engage on Mortality Field Force, but they couldn't get the healing back in. And the best part about that for T1's defense is they don't use anything. They have 5 ultimates online. Okay, cool. Starlight have Window, Blizzard, everything. Well, they have a couple of useful tools. But this is the point now where you're starting to just feel like it's not really super possible for them to cap. You would need Zest to outplay, or rather to misplay his Nano Blade, get stunned up, eat a rare, you know, eat a headshot somewhere, maybe get frozen. Because T1 have way too much going for them right now. They have way too many ultimates backed up.
And now, on the next go-around, just a minute and a half on the clock.
Just ignore the window. That's smart.
Yep.
T1 don't even have to play this.
They don't have exactly. Exactly. It's a nothing burger. I mean, it's... yeah. Whatever. Here we go. The Nano Blade committed in. Look at that. Just... oh, this is gross, man. Nothing's landing right for Starlight anymore. It feels like T1 are finally starting to come online, but it just sort of feels like playing to their beat, right? They know how to do this. They're just executing correctly. It's all pretty straightforward play. Only I mean, this feels like such a non-compliment, but at least they are now executing correctly and playing that straightforward Overwatch compared to what was happening earlier.
It would be hard to fail this defense when you have such a massive spawn advantage. Well, not that they've had to lean on that. To be fair, they're not getting 2 CP'd. Well, they're not using the 2 CP advantage, that is what I'm trying to get towards. They're literally just outplaying because they have way more ultimates, they're winning more cleanly, and they didn't even have to use the Dragon Strike. They see the amplification matrix coming through from Marco, and they're like, don't play into it. You could just drag it into it, that's a valuable response, but it costs you an ultimate, and they're just saying like, we don't even need to do that. And on top of it, The Blizzard's just gone. The one big tool from Decal deleted. Attacker down. Starlight have to back out if they can.
No, immediately dive onto Marco. MN3 does go down to the trade, but honestly, 20 seconds left. Starlight, they're not even going to be able to sneak out this third because T1, they read it. They're straight back onto the point. And because a member went in a little bit deeper, it now takes them a longer time to get out. Still waiting to get back into this fight. No, Bujo's dead. He was caught sleeping. Can they get anything with this Deadeye? I don't know that they can.
No, they can't even touch.
Time's looking to run out. Yeah, I think Violetta's going to touch barely. Nope, not even that impressive stuff. T1 just kind of choke it out.
And now I double down on my previous point about them just playing for that one tick, and it sounds, in this context, I hopefully it sounds really good and intelligent, but there's another context, you look at that, it sounds stupid, because why would you throw everything in for one tick? Because that's not going to win you the map. It's not going to get you the full cap and into a time bank, correct? It's, that makes sense. But when you know Starlight is the underdog team, when you know that there's a high chance of a draw on Hanamura here with this kind of meta, playing for just one tick and a 33 legitimately is the difference between winning and losing. And I still hold firmly the ground that I think they would have had that one tick if they just threw all their ultimates down in pretty quick succession. Photon barrier, into Blizzard, T1 already down, their chips are already down, they're already in a disadvantaged state. It's unlikely, in my opinion, that T1 would have thrown more members onto that at the risk of being, because if they do play into the Blizzard and they lose more members, then they might actually lose the entire cap. So SLT there, put T1 backs against the wall between a rock and a hard place. You're either going to lose one tick or the entire point, and you'll just take that one tick if you don't get anything else.
So now, this is where being at match point is just that silver lining for T1, I suppose. They don't have to do too much work to just confirm it, get the series locked away, and maybe start putting this one behind them. I do think they're a better team than what we've seen across tonight, and I think we'll still see good things out of them. So this is really just a case of like making sure they don't bungle this in the extreme and can maybe recover and look stronger in subsequent weeks.
So now T1 have discovered that Decal's indeed playing a fire, which I think was always going to be the possibility. When you have Decal in, that's been his hero, right? So T1 have to figure out how they want to navigate through this. With Valsaria's already on the point, he'll be dragging members from SLT back, and suddenly I think SLT will need to start focusing on the points of the choke.
Yeah, those were some low support, so it really hung in the balance for a second there from T1, but they get away with it. They force the positioning. Now they recover some of their own health bars. Starlight Gaming gonna wheel around, try and change things up a little bit. MN3 getting low, has to drop back out, and Belastria barely isolated from his team there.
It's sneaky from T1. You could start to see them pressuring the actual point itself, but they pull Starlight Gaming back, which gives them an opening into the double doors. All they have to get past is the spam coming through from Decal. MN3 gets asleep but is still alive. Starlight can't even quite use that. I mean, that would have been, or rather, T1 probably thankful they didn't lose a member. They're very far away from an EMP. With Krillin down, they don't have an engage anymore.
Nice double shot there on Decal, just getting the second one straight through the parked cars. So now, about a minute and a half elapsed here for T1. I still expect they'll get this over the line. It's just a question of when.
Speaking of parked cars, the T1's right now driving a parked car. It's just not moving. It's completely stalled out. 40% on EMP is so atrociously bad right now. You need this EMP. You want 2 EMPs on this offense. The fact that we're only going to get 1 is upsetting. He needs to just start farming charge to the market if nothing else. In fact, he kills Mike even better.
Alright, cool. I'll take it. Belastria does get slept with the nano boost on, which is a little unfortunate. That runs out entirely, but it's still a man advantage here. Bunjo has not gone for a res on Marker. He's walking back the long, slow way. Those granny legs do not carry you quickly. Let's see what they can actually get done, try to take out the supercharger now. It's getting solidly marked, but there we go. Decal slipped out of the skies. Nothing out of nothing for his rocket barrage. Zest now trying to come down the middle, just has to wait out the tac visor. This is actually buying time, if you will, for Marker to come back. T1's still waiting for some extra way to commit. Another primal, an EMP, and anything really.
Well, SLT are actually out of ultimates here, and the EMP will finally be online. There's a real risk that T1 don't cap this until the overtime. And beyond that as well, if they spend EMP here, their ability to snowball B becomes quite low.
Oh, okay.
Kill.
Shots on Decal, that's really important. And then they just frag out without even committing ultimates. Alright, it's going to be a res through onto Sungun, but they commit the EMP. I mean, look, I guess you want to convert the fight. You don't want to risk not getting this over the line. It's a bit of a shame, but Taka does get a does get picked out rather as T1. Still with the man advantage here. brawling a little bit off the side of the point as well. Not quite able to get the extra kills, but they are at least keeping Starlight at bay. Starlight now just have to dive for it. That's what's going to leave them potentially extended and vulnerable, but nope, great sleep on the Primal Raging Veloceria. Claston will be able to reset with self-destruct if needs be, but no, hopefully won't need it, and they will clean up the rest of the kills.
Really good confidence being shown there by Krillin to hold on to the nano boost. They need to hold on to something to snowball through over towards B. Okay, you had to burn an EMP. Like you said, play that one safely. Taka, it's a little bit tricky. I actually don't think this is good. Oh, what? No way. Did he guess that? Was that literally a prediction rocket? Like, what was that?
He's gonna die, but I mean, at least he's bought enough time for his own respawn. Otherwise, it would have just been a man advantage to T1.
I have never seen that before.
That was
unbelievable play. Yeah, okay, like I said, he'll die for it. It's a little bit silly. But hey, it's cool.
Well, I don't think it is. I don't think it is, because if he had to kill himself there, right? So they would have just given T1 a free 5v6 by killing someone first, and they're at least coming into this as a 6v6. Unfortunately, they lose decal right out the gate. As T1, they got everything at their disposal. They committed all in. Veloceria just kind of stands in front of the supercharge of the entire team. That was not enough respect being given to the damage there. I think that was a little bit foolish, perhaps, but at any rate, there comes the EMP out. Violetta's self-destructing. Will not be getting back in the mech. Boonjo has another fat Bionade, but where's the follow-up? Zest is still off to the side. Claston's low. D-Mech now, no Veloceria. Krillin solo healing. It's enough for Starlight to hang a defense on.
Wow, so they actually even had an EMP in there, so it's not even like they couldn't snowball. Nano played in. Krillin even gets an additional 50%. Veloceria dying, like I said, was definitely upsetting. Riley got played into it. I mean, this is as good as it gets, isn't it? I mean, you have double support ultimates. I believe Veloceria, no, did you Primal here?
And,
no,
and the entry frag on decal, by the way. So 6v5.
And then on top of that, the EMP, which, okay, it didn't catch a huge amount, but it catches enough that you should be able to get a number of kills. This time, I think T1, perhaps unlucky, they got 2 CP'd a little bit there, sad. They will have a Nanoblade coming through for what will probably be the final fight. If not, then it's a draw.
I will be a little bit critical and say I think T1 misapplied tools. They just kind of threw members in at times where they didn't necessarily need to, going like, yeah, like Zest can just run and trace it, maybe he'll find a pick, and then got low and got out alive, but it meant that he wasn't actually in position to follow up on a more important timing window like the EMP. And there's just a bunch of things like that happening. Now here we go. It's going to be straight Nano boosted to Primal Rage, and finally they start collecting the expected kills. Zest does go down to the Molten Core, but decal was slept the entire time. So yeah, Veloceria just kind of making it happen for the team. They only need to get the 1/3. Decal looking to go down here, and they will convert it. They'll close out that match. Like I said, they can start kind of putting this one in the past. This was not a promising performance from T1. It is at least a win. The numbers do count when you start looking at the actual standings and how they shake up, but you know, this is something they could at least learn from, I think. You've got to take this positively.
It will be a situation where you walk away from this one, and the thing you probably want to remember is just like, oh yeah, it's a 3-1. Unfortunately, they dropped the map, and you forget about how the 3-1 came to be, because
I will never forget.
It's gonna be one of those. It's gonna be one of those matches that you, especially for the team, and you know, a lot of people watching, they'll just it wasn't a pretty sight, unfortunately. The last fight though, pretty good. I think there was some redeeming qualities on Hanamura for T1, especially for being able to hold B, which should be the expectation, and then being able to eventually get that one tech. And I mean, they had contingencies as well, because they were playing for, they would have eventually played for the Nano Blade, but they trusted Veloceria, gave him the resources. He went quite aggressive, Primal directly into a Deadeye, outplayed, and then was able to get a bunch of frags and great juggles as well. They then got a sleep onto Decal, who was playing the Torb, I believe, so they slept another place. So even the members they didn't kill, they slept one of them, which is good enough as a kill. So yeah, well played for the final engagement with T1, all things considered. We ended on probably a high note, which is at least a positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give them credit, especially when immediately before that I was being critical of members not really being ready for certain plays to happen and for certain abilities to be utilized and ultimates to be committed. So they did then do that on the immediate next fight. So like I said, credit where it's due, right? It feels like it was just an extremely sloppy win, I think, is the way you've kind of got to digest it at the end of the day. It was sloppy, and that's unfortunate. But the good news is, it was a sloppy win, executed by a team that is better than what this looked like, rather than a shaky win by a team that maybe isn't actually that good. I think T1 are better than this, and that's a good thing because it means they can still go on to play better than this, and that's still the promise for them in this season, looking to make a playoffs run, looking to maybe even challenge O2 Blast later in the season. This is just a weird, wacky little anomaly, unless it happens twice, in which case we'll start asking the really serious questions, but we can hold off for now, and justifiably so.
Well, T1 play against BM next week, so there will be, I would suspect, a greater challenge there.
Okay, yeah.
BM is, to me, a possible third-place finisher in their group. At worst,
they could be a real upsetter
finisher.
if they drop T1.
And so if T1 walks into that 1 week, that could be costly for them. And speaking of costly for them, outside of the direct matchup with the other top-tier team in their group, which is, I believe, O2 Blast, out of that matchup, the next most important thing that you have to look at is map record, and because they've kind of had a blemish on there now, it's a little bit tarnished with dropping a map to Starlight, which I expect O2 Blast to not drop. If there is going to be a tiebreaker, this once again will be the series you have to go back to and say, yeah, I mean, it just wasn't a good enough performance from T1 despite winning.
So this is an interesting one. We look across the night, it was 2 3-1s. Obviously, last night we had 2 3-0s. This is 2 3-1s, and it's 3-1s that really don't tell the whole story, not even close. GC Busan versus WGS Phoenix was incredibly close. We even had a draw in the middle there on Hanamura. It genuinely felt in the balance at times. It felt like WGS maybe could have done it, but it did just feel like at the end of the day, GC Busan were the slightly better team. They edged them out consistently where it mattered, and had a relatively impressive game with some very impressive moments. On the other hand, the one we've just seen now, T1 versus Starlight, the 3-1, you look at that and go, well, that's fairly expected that T1 won, but oh, Starlight picked up a map. Maybe that's promising for them. Neither of those things feels particularly true, actually. It felt like a bit of a disaster match for both teams in a lot of ways. I feel like actually credit to Starlight. They capitalized in some instances, but here's the other thing that kind of occurs to me, right? Like, if there was some serious hope moving forward for Starlight, then they should have been able to capitalize far more on T1 playing as poorly as they did. I feel like if T1 played against any other team just about, they would have capitalized better on T1's shortcomings tonight.
Yeah, so I think the real winner out of this day of matches has to be GC Busan. I think they legitimately impressed, especially with the comeback, the quote-unquote comeback they had to make after dropping the first map and looking like a little bit weak on that opening map. And with the updated standings here as well, you can see, okay, well, T102, they've won their games. GC Busan and Talon have won their games. CC lost to Talon, so they have to start right at the bottom. I guess they'll be making a bit of a climb, but at the same time, CC have gotten past the hardest matchup they have all season, and from here it should be pretty smooth sailing. We've yet to see Incendia Evolution and JNGK, which are the only two like completely new Trials teams that we have never really seen before. So that is going to be quite interesting because those are completely unknown factors. Yeah,
still won't be seeing them until week 2. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at what we will be seeing across week 2. We'll kick things off straight out the gate. JNGK. They do not get an easy one to start with, coming straight up against Kingpin O2
Rip that
Blast.
Band-Aid off.
Yeah, that's going to be a toughie. No two ways about it. And look, we'll talk about it on the night, but you know, there's argument to be had that like success is just kind of holding your own a little bit and showing what you're capable of as the Trials team in this situation. But it's a tough opener. There's no buttering it up, right? WGS Phoenix versus Talon Esports on the other hand. Look, Talon absolutely the expected favorite there. WGS, I think if they'd won against GC Busan, you'd feel a bit more confident. But I would still say they had a solid showing, and I think with a week's preparation, they could really tickle Talon here. We'll see how it actually shakes out on the night, but Talon are the favorite. It's just WGS Phoenix have some potential. Call it 80-20. June will be good.
That's actually, I was going to say, if that's the odds we're going for, that's pretty generous, but we'll see. I think Talon O2 Blast should walk away from that one
I'm a generous guy.
Comfortably. So, yeah, that's why instead of getting paid, you pay to be here. So
I pay, yeah. Some guy comes to my house every Wednesday. I give him $500 for no particular reason, and then we go our separate ways.
And if you got that reference because you've been here the whole night, good on you.
because it was a real little throwaway one as well. Like, we barely... there wasn't even like a follow-up... Yeah, there wasn't even like a follow-up joke to kind of go on it. It wasn't like a whole bit we did. At any rate, though, that kind of brings the bits to an end. That's it. That's the show, folks. It's been a solid opening week, I would say. We've got a good feel for what we're actually going to expect out of these teams, especially some of these potential top teams. Still some question marks to be had as well. And I think, look, in maybe a more holistic way, the good news, if you could call it that, the silver lining out of T1's performance here is it leaves some question marks over it, right? Last night proceeded almost so expectedly with the 3-0s and O2 Blast getting the win and so on and so forth that you sort of go like, yeah, you could call this season at the very start of it. I don't think that's particularly true. Tonight has demonstrated that. Tonight has showed that there's some potential challenges in both GC Busan and WGS Phoenix, and also that it's not just going to be this smooth ride for T1. They've actually got some work to do still, and that leaves some opportunity space over in Group A as well. Whether that space will get capitalized on remains to be seen, but I gotta say, there's some juice now across the next couple of weeks. That's at least my final thoughts for the night.
Squeeze the juice.
Squeeze it big. And, well, we'll get back to squeezing next week. I'll go ahead and bring my juicer. I'll take an apple to an orchard, whatever the saying is. At any rate, we'll see you then. Thanks very much for tuning in tonight and this week. It's been an absolute blast to kick off this season, and I think it's only going to get better from here. See you then.